Welcome everyone tonight for the briefing of the second day of the virtual Sailplane Grand Prix. That's the program for tonight. We'll talk about the schedule of a competition day, some additional information that we have every day for you, preliminary results from yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about the scoring as well. The weather, the task, the procedure for the arrival, and we'll talk a little bit more about flight safety as well. So that's the team that we presented yesterday already. We have 20 people working on the competition. That's quite a lot of people, and well, I would like to thank them once again for the work that they are doing for this entire week.
Yes, it's on Twitch, sorry.
That's the event calendar for the FAI Sailplane Grand Prix, the real Sailplane Grand Prix on the left, and the virtual Sailplane Grand Prix on the right. With virtual races starting at around 8 p.m. every evening. Schedule for a competition day. We start the briefing at 19:45 Central Eastern Time. Then the pilots join the server at 8 p.m. Well, it starts around 35 minutes later. Tonight's going to be 30 minutes later, and then we expect the arrivals and interviews at around 10:30 tonight. Podium tonight and tomorrow.
Hello.
Scoring. Don't forget that you must rename your first name and so surname and competition number in Condor, please. As shown in the results table on esport.sgp.aero/results. Thanks for noticing there was a mistake in the date of the day, year, month, and day. So please take a screenshot of this one, but you have the briefing available in information channel on Twitch, on Discord for that. So some additional information. So that's the same turn point files as yesterday. They've been updated on the 3rd of September, just before the start of the competition. All the skins are still available on condor.club if you need them. Same version for Condor 2.1.7 and same version for Arcalpin 2. We have a scoring issue, as you have seen that on the website. It is almost solved. It's just a problem about coding, and it should be solved really soon. We will keep the preliminary results that we will show just after this slide until tomorrow. And if we cannot solve that, we will go on soaring spot. Thanks a lot for your understanding. But it will be like this until tomorrow at least. Discord, there is a new channel for you available to talk after the flights. It was a bit of a mess after the flight yesterday while some pilots were still flying. So please change the frequency and talk on the other one. It's called Pilot Chat. One last point, thanks for the interview and the great show yesterday evening. Indeed, we had quite a lot of hot landings compared to the real SGP, but it was really nice to follow, even though there was some low flights. We'll talk about that in the safety slides, but it was really nice to follow. So thanks a lot for that. So preliminary results from yesterday. We had Donna Pierluigi from France making history on the first race of the first virtual Sailplane Grand Prix, flying at 135.4 kilometers per hour. Ben First from Germany at 135.2 kilometers per hour, and Jeroen Jenen from Belgium completing the podium at 131.9 kilometers per hour. So that's going to be 10 points for Donna Pierre, 8 points for Ben First, 7 points for Jeroen, and then we will have Fox One, Josh Meyers with 6 points, Wiltord Rosak with 5 points on the 5th place. Then we have on the 6th position Arne Martin Guttler with 4 points, Tim Madsen at the 7th position with 3 points. Then Christian from Chile, Charlie Sierra 2 with 2 points, and Thomas Meyer marking the last point. The airspace. For you, it's all free again for today, and we will fly in a very nice Durance Valley, as you will see later. The weather now for today, it's really nice. You have the wind from the southeast, so 232 degrees, 15 kilometers per hour. So that's gonna be very nice on the ridges for you if you have the chance to get there. Wind blowing up to 25 kilometers per hour at 5,000 meters. Thermals 1.5 to 3.5, maybe 4 meters per second on the ridges with this nice dynamic lift and thermal lift. Then ceiling at approximately 2,200 meters around Saint-Auban area, and then maybe climbing up to 2,600 meters above mean sea level in the mountainous areas. Cumulus at 2.8, some wave light to moderate, and cirrus cloud 3.8. That's the task for day 2. The sim is based on the 6th of September 2021, so today. Start at 12:40 in Condor. Airborne start at 1756 meters above mean sea level as well. The task 271.5 kilometers, sorry. Start from Puy-Michel, so that's southeast of the Saint-Auban airfield for approximately 10 kilometers. The start line 5 kilometers, of course. TP1 is Egin Pont. That's very classic to do that in Saint-Auban, so you will have to cross the plateau of Puy-Michel and Valençol. Then you will go to the northwest to Lucandiwa. It's just after Col de Cabre. Then to TP3 Gapville. You're now used to Gap because you flew twice near Gap yesterday. Then Aspres-sur-Bouèche, it's the airfield that is north of Serie. There are two airfields that are 10 kilometers apart, Serie and Aspres. And then you will go back to Saint-Auban, reporting point 200, and finish line 200 with a line of I think 500 meters and not 2,000 and not 250 meters. 250 on each side, indeed. Start at 1,800 meters QNH and maximum ground speed 170 kph. Finish minimum altitude at 500 meters QNH, and altitude in Saint-Auban is just 40 meters less. The same procedures as yesterday. Don't forget, if you do low pass, please do it on the middle of the airfield and not too close to the hangars. Then there was a small problem afterwards, but that's not really your fault. That's the fault of the organization. We should have been there on the ground with you to tell you what to do at that time, because there was a bit of confusion between TKM and Arne Martin. So that was more our fault than yours, and you didn't see each other, I think, during the procedure. Arrival penalties, I think that was quite well done yesterday. So you must do a continuous descent towards the finish line, and you must be above 500 meters between the reporting point and the finish line. So safety, there is quite some stuff to talk about. Schiphol effect, again, make your own choices. It was not easy yesterday, but I think you pushed too hard. That's why you are kind of stuck and you are kind of following each other sometimes. It happened at TP2 and TP3, where some of you outlanded near Lake of Serponçon, actually. Collision in flight, there were none. No mid-air collision just after the flight during the landing procedures, because they didn't see each other, but that's our fault, as I said. The start line, it was a little bit better yesterday, but still think about excess of energy and how to manage your energy efficiently, please. Hot landing, we didn't have the circuit landing that we wanted to see from some of you. So please try to do them just like you would do in real life, and please don't push too hard. There are no thermals sometimes for quite some kilometers, and you're still flying at 170 kph, even below 500 meter above ground level. So that's not efficient to perform well. So try to be careful with that. In the thermals, that was quite well for everyone, but watch out for others. The first one arriving in the thermal decides and chooses if we turn left or right, and we should all follow him, and we must turn and climb in the same direction, please. When entering thermals, it happens once, maybe twice. Please do not pull in front of another pilot and from below. It doesn't see you, and it might happen, and then you might have mid-air collision. So that's not what we want to see. But it was very close yesterday. I think there was two situations, one before start and at least one during the race that we have seen that. So please avoid doing that and enter the thermals behind the pilots who are already in that thermal. Thanks. So just to give some examples from what I just said, two of you were flying quite low in the Ubai Valley and in Devolui. For Kilo Hotel, it was the same as well, flying low in the Ubai Valley and then landing more late straight in the field. You should do a proper landing circle, please. For Victor 1, catching up a thermal at low altitude in Laragne, so that's west of the Durance Valley, west of Sisteron. Fox 1 pulling in front of a pilot when entering a thermal. That happens once. We've seen it in the live, and we were commenting it yesterday. Maybe you didn't see the pilot, but please be careful with that. And spiraling once in opposite way. But mainly it was really well done yesterday about thermals, guys, and spiraling in same direction. It's not a problem if you if you do the opposite way, if there are maybe 500 meters margin between the two of you, but otherwise, please follow the same pattern and fly to the right or to the left, just as the guys did before you. Same comments for Sierra Lima Lima, Yankee Zulu Romeo. We're flying low at Serponçon and then landing more or less straight or without a proper landing circuit. Gorka from Spain did the same, but with a nice circuit, apparently, at least a better circuit, and landed on a field in Prunière. So thank you, Gorka, for this one. That's it for today. Servers are opening now. You may ask your question now on Discord. I will be with you, guys, right now in the pilot frequency, and I will be with you for the start as well. Today, for the FAI tonight, the live will be commented by Matthew Scudder from Australia and by Mark Travner from Slovenia. And for the FAVP guys, that will be Michael Savin and Emmanuel Cartier. Thanks a lot and enjoy the flights. The password to join the flight is available in information channel, chat channel on Discord. Thanks a lot, and we see you in a few minutes on Condor. Enjoy your flight.
Hello and welcome to the first virtual Grand Prix final. My name is Mark Turner. Today I will be joined by Matthew Scudder, and we will be your commentators for today's second day of virtual racing. We are really excited to have you here. We have seen a really excited race in real life, Sailplane Grand Prix finals today. And today our virtual pilots are going to try to compete and see how they can reckon in today's weather conditions. We saw a really interesting race yesterday where pilots actually achieved exactly the same speeds as the real life pilots. So that was really exciting. And we also saw a really close finish and fight for the podium places. And I'm really sure we're going to see something similar happen today as well. We have 20 pilots in the air right now, waiting for the start line to open, which will happen in exactly 14 minutes and 10 seconds. And I believe I can welcome Matthew. Well, Matthew is not with us yet, so I'll be taking you through the start of this race for now alone, and he will join us really soon. So if you have missed the real world Sailplane Grand Prix Series 10 final, today there was another really fast day in Saint-Auban. We had a repeated winner from yesterday in Mario, who won today's task with 129.6 kilometers per hour average speed, and that made him extend his lead. He now has 20 points and is 7 points clear from second placed Maximilian Saiz, and following closely by is the other French pilot Christopher. Hopefully we're gonna see some nice speeds as well in the virtual world. Just to remind you, the weather conditions are set for the same as the real life pilots had, and also the task is exactly the same. Unfortunately, we do not have Antoine right here with us. He will join us later, our local expert, but I can tell you the task is 271 kilometers long, and it'll take pilots to the south, and then they will go to the northwest part of the competition area. They will be flying along the ridges where they did their final glide yesterday, with weather to be expected just a bit worse than yesterday. Well, we already saw some pilots getting caught out by a lack of thermals near the third turning point, and just as yesterday, the third turning point is also located near the city of Gap, and we will probably see some pilots maybe again struggle there, and it'll give us some exciting action for the day.
Good evening, I'm with you now, Mark.
Oh, hi, Matthew. So I'm really pleased to welcome Matthew here. Matthew Scudder is a well-known pilot, and I'm sure he will give us some really great insight into the world of real and virtual racing. Welcome, Matthew.
G'day, I'm glad to be here. I don't know about insight into the virtual world. I've only got a little bit of experience in Condor, but I have flown a few times from Saint-Auban and the regions around, so hopefully we can have some interesting chats.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And in this case, between us, you are the local area expert. Have you had a chance to look at the task yet?
I've just been having a look at it now. Have we had a look at how the actual pilots did today?
Yeah, I just quickly went through it. We had a quite quick day. It's a bit slower than yesterday, with Mario winning with 129 kilometers per hour average speed. We talked yesterday, and actually, I think all except one pilots finished the task, which is something we cannot say about our virtual pilots yesterday. We said yesterday that we expect higher speeds to be achieved in the virtual world with the same weather conditions. Do you think this will happen?
That's a good question. You'd think that the pilots would have the benefit of planning their flights a little more and having seen what the pilots did in the real world and trying to make adjustments to their flight based on that. I was just thinking we could have a look at where the people who won their task today flew, and then we can have a look as the race progresses whether the same pilots are making the same choice.
That's an actually really good idea. I think we should try doing that during the course of our stream. We'll try to give you some maybe pictures of Mario's flight from today, and as the day goes on, yeah, really good thought. That will be an excellent comparison. And another thing is when virtual pilots fly, there is this element of fear that might be present in the real world that you just cannot simulate in the virtual world.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine that it's much less scary in Condor. Some of the places, I think, even the way they're flying today, are really quite scary in a glider if you get low. So imagine there's people not sweating quite as much in front of their computers.
Yeah, but even with that, we have to mention that pilots are briefed to fly as it was a real thing. We have safety briefings here at Virtual Sailplane Grand Prix. Pilots have to follow the same standards of flying as real pilots, and there are penalties for inappropriate behavior, just as in real life. We do not want to set a bad precedent for real life pilots who might be watching this.
Yeah, it's an honorable thought.
You can join us on Twitch, YouTube, and also on Facebook. I've probably left out some other ways where you can join us, but in any way, we are really happy for all of you who are following us right now. And if you can, please share the link. The more the merrier. We would love to see as many of the people watching this first ever virtual Sailplane Grand Prix. And again, in just 8 minutes, we're gonna start, and hopefully we will be able to give you a really good show tonight. Since we are 7 minutes away from the start, we should maybe quickly go through the rules as for you who might not be familiar with them. In Grand Prix style of racing, all pilots will start at the same time. They will cross the start line in 7 minutes. They cannot start beforehand. If they do, they will get quite big time penalties, and since task is the same for everybody, the first pilot that comes around will be declared a winner and will receive 10 points. Pilots cannot start above the certain altitude. Today that is 1,800 meters above mid-sea level. Line is 5 kilometers wide, and also there is a maximum speed that they cannot surpass when they go through the starting line. 1 minute before the beginning of the race, pilots must be on the right side of the starting line. So in today's case, they're gonna be located north of the start line. And if they start too soon, they are not allowed to turn back, and that is purely for the safety reasons, as we don't want pilots flying towards each other. We can also quickly mention the results of the previous day. As we have said, we had quite an exciting race, although unfortunately I cannot retrieve the results just of yet, so we will maybe skip this for now. Matthew, looking at the screen, what would you say about today's weather?
Looks like it's a pretty good weather for racing in the Alps. I think I saw at the briefing the cloud base was going to be above 2,000 meters. The clouds should be well above most of the mountain tops. And I think there wasn't so much wind either, so there won't be so much on the ridges and mostly thermal soaring. If it's possible for us to have a look at the 2D view of the overall map, we can have a look at the possible routes they might be taking. So having a look at the map there, my suspicion would be on the first leg, they're going to all jump out to the east a little bit and try and run some of those ridges down, climb up to run in and out of the turn. So you see the turn point near the lakes east of Manosque down there. That's the first turn point. And then I think we're going to see them heading up well on the eastern side of track to the northwest, to the northwestmost turn point. That's turn point 2 up to the northwest. And you can see the ridges out to the east are much better defined than the kind of flat valley area out to the west of track there until you get more than halfway. And then we've got some really nice peaks on the way to Gap. I think that's the Pic de Bure there, the really tall mountain top. And I think they'll be gliding in and out of there and almost be on final glide from the turn point just past Gap. And I think we'll see them come in pretty fast from there.
Do you expect pilots to maybe go completely off course near Gap just to reach the top of the mountains there on the north?
I think so, yes. But I think the biggest deviation will be on that second leg, the really long leg there, where I think they'll be heading out even past Digne-les-Bains. Yeah, it's that little town you see to the northeast of the area they're starting there. I think they'll even be well east of that.
Okay, that's a good hypothesis. I we'll see if it comes true. I would really like to ask TV director if he could maybe give us some 2D flight of today's winners. I'm not sure if that's possible, but if it is, we'll be really thankful. I think it would be a nice insight, as Matthew had said before. While we are waiting for this, I think we will go back to the pictures from Condor, where we have our pilots now all basically climbing above 2,000 meters, which is actually a bit too high for the start.
I've just been having a look at some of the tracks, the winners actually myself, and it does look like on the first 2 legs even, they did the vast majority of the flight more or less on the ridges with very little thermal soaring until they got towards the end of the flight. And just around that turn point near Gap, they started taking climbs up to cloud base. So it'll be interesting to see. I didn't see exactly how strong the wind was forecast to be in the briefing, did you?
No, I'm sorry. I also arrived just a tad late to today's stream.
Well, let's see if it starts working for them. But everyone seems to be enjoying the clouds just at the moment.
Yeah, we saw yesterday that people who relied on ridges too much often got a bit burned by them, and we saw many outlandings around the, I believe that was the third turn point, where pilots got really low. They were counting on some good thermals from the ridge next to the lake, and quite few of them were forced to outland, while pilots who stayed a bit further back flew a bit more conservatively and found some cumuluses also over the valley, not just over the mountaintops. At the end, prevailed and won the day.
I imagine it's very hard for these pilots to know exactly how every given Condor scenery is going to behave in different weather conditions.
Yeah, of course, even with the best simulation, you cannot simulate what's going to happen in real life. But on the other hand, we have pilots here who are not real life pilots. And for them, they are maybe more, they have some advantages because their soaring mind thinks just in Condor 2 soaring engine. And maybe some real-life pilots will expect thermal somewhere from the real-life experience, while the simulation does not represent that 100%.
Just having a look at the pilots list, I recognize some fairly notable real sailplane pilots amongst the list competing. So we have Tim Kuipers, of course, who I think he was junior world champion in maybe 2011. And I see as well Jerome Jenin, who competed in the championships in Montluçon with me. And I also see is Arnie Martin Greutler a sailplane pilot as well?
Not sure, Matthew. We'll go back to that. But now we are just 20 seconds away from the start. Everybody is quite well aligned. I do not expect to see some penalties right now. We talked about yesterday how lots of pilots did not judge well when to cross the start line. So I think we see a bit more conservative flying right now. And here we go, the start of the second task of the first virtual Grand Prix finals. Good luck to everybody and give us a good show today.
So who was that we saw first at the start line there? I think that was Tamas Meyer, the Hungarian pilot.
You reckon he was a bit too fast?
He was certainly first through. We don't have a countdown of exactly whether he crossed the start line on time or not.
Well, we see on the results. Rules said that for every second the pilot is too fast, he gets, if I'm correct, 10-second penalty. Definitely not worth it, right?
That's a big penalty. And I think I see Josh Mayers went through second there and is now pushing out already.
Do you think it's smart to be the first one in a gaggle like this?
No, definitely not. My strategy going through any kind of Grand Prix start line is you want to be the very first to cross with as much energy as possible, and then you slow up as much as possible. And you try and let all the pilots who started a little bit lower push ahead, and you use them for the first thermal. It's just so much risk when you have a start height below the top of convection to push out by yourself.
Yeah, we have to remember that pilots are now 400, almost 500 meters lower than where they could be because of the limitations of the starting gate. So in the normal race, they would be starting much, much, much higher than right now.
I see Josh Myers, the pilot flying, I think he was in, I just lost his call sign now. He's a pilot from America with thousands of hours in both sailplanes and paragliders as well.
Yeah, we have quite a diverse bunch of pilots gathered here, from real-life pilots to virtual pilots to, well, people from all over aviation. The goal was to select 20 pilots from all over the world. We have people from Europe, North America, South America, also a pilot from Japan who is joining us now. I think it's roughly 2-3 o'clock in the morning, so we really appreciate him being with us.
This position that Donna Pierre is in, I believe he won the race yesterday. This is where I'd like to be if I was starting a Grand Prix, just with a little bit above and behind a bunch of other pilots to watch where they make the first turns.
Yeah, and I think their pilots are already diverging a bit towards the east, as you predicted a few minutes ago.
I think they'll be heading to the top of the peaks there, trying to get the first climb on the top. I'm not sure quite how realistic the modeling is in Condor as to whether it really does predict better thermals on top of the peaks rather than on the valley floor, but that would certainly be the real life experience.
Yeah, and it looks that way. Also, by the way, pilots have decided to go around flying this task. But in the background, I think Mikko from Finland and a few others have found the first thermal of the day.
So this is the big risk I was talking about when you push out ahead. So you see Jerome Jenin has missed the big climb that everyone's got behind him. And it'd be far too much penalty for him to turn back for it now.
Yeah, and I think he might even be the only one. If we can maybe see the 2D view to have
So
a
the
better...
chance of him finding a good climb and coring it by himself is low, but maybe he will get lucky.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, we see Juliet flying all on his own now, while everybody else has seemed to find a thermal, except further on the west we have Kilo Mike. That's the plane of Tim Madsen from Denmark, and he's also trying to do something on his own. But I think he still has an option to join the other guys if his thermal doesn't work out.
So did Tim Madsen start a little bit behind, or how did he end up so far back there? Has he just been cruising much slower?
I'm not sure. It might also be some error in the logger because I cannot see his trace, although he is moving as far as I can see. I'm sure when we go back to the live Condor pictures, this will be a bit clearer. But so far, we have everybody basically in one place except Juliet, who is pushing out in front on his own.
I would be very
Personally-
uncomfortable if I was where he was. Well, I think we'll just be clearing those ridges there. If we can go back to the view, maybe we'll see him take the climb if there is one there. It looks like he's getting a nice little pull up there.
Yeah, his altitude just jumped almost 100 meters, I would say. And
Can we
but-
change back to first person view of Juliet, please? He's certainly climbing there.
yeah, okay, perfectly. Thank you. He might
Oh,
have
he's left
been,
already.
but yeah, he
It wasn't
does
strong
have
enough.
he does have some cumuluses in front of him, but he is, well, at least compared to the others, quite low right now.
And look how hard he's pushing. He's still flying over 200 kph. This seems like a very big risk to me.
Yeah, we noticed this yesterday that pilots, even while they were flying next to the ridge that provided some thermal activity, provided some lift, they were still flying 170, 180, almost 200 kilometers per hour, way faster than pilots in real life.
I don't know how realistic the speed polars are in Condor, whether they really match reality or not, but it could be that gliders is just a little bit higher performance in Condor.
Speaking of that, everybody here is flying only JS free and Ventus free, so not much diversity. We are all excitedly waiting for AS33 to arrive in Condor,
Or the
which
Dyna
is
3.
oh, that would be nice as well.
I watched the
and-
Dyna 3 fly today, so I think it's going to be a winner.
That's where your money's on.
That's where I think.
Well, definitely, it's exciting to see that we have such close competition also in the plane manufacturing world between manufacturers. I mean, it's nice to see more than one different plane, and of course, each of them has their own advantages and disadvantages. And now we have on our screen Tim, who yes did take way more westerly route than everybody else, but it does not look like he is majorly disadvantaged by that. He's a bit lower, but still has some healthy altitude and doesn't seem to be in any big trouble for now.
I assume he must have had a nice climb behind, and looking how hard he's pushing, he must really be expecting things strong ahead.
Yeah, everybody's pushing hard, and it might also be a bit of a herd effect. You know, pilots behind looking at pilots in front pushing, and maybe if they were flying on their own, they wouldn't be flying just as fast.
And Jerome is still pushing incredibly hard here. Does the virtual Grand Prix have an extra point for the first person around the turn point?
No, I do not believe so. If there was, I think he would most certainly get it, except if he finds something right now.
This is a
But-
real risk he's taking.
Yeah,
he's
he
got to be
also has-
hoping that he's got to be hoping there's going to be a bit of ridge effect here.
Yeah, and we must not forget he also has to get back practically in the same terrain as he flew there. We do see now pilots behind him have found some good thermals, but he's really low. I'm not even sure he can get back to them.
I wonder if his strategy was hoping to round the turn and then catch the same thermal as the people still going into the turn.
Well, if I was him, I would slow down a bit, and especially now in front of the turn point.
See
we
how clean
saw-
his turn point rounding is.
We saw yesterday that virtual pilots push a bit too much around turn points and basically take these turn point turns at 180, sometimes even 200 kilometers per hour, which is not really effective.
I think he might actually contact the bottom of that climb over there. So his strategy may in fact have worked of getting around the turn point and getting back to the climbing gaggle.
Yeah, and the gaggle also, I think, maybe saw that because they quite quickly dispersed. They're all flying to the turn point right now. I don't see anybody thermaling at the moment.
They might think that the ridges are working because they can see them so low, but I'm not seeing any evidence they're really working.
As we have a pilot who did something completely on his own. We have Victor 1 up there in the north, following that, I think, bigger reach.
That's certainly the route I would have taken if I was concerned about the conditions. It looks like the much more conservative route, but I don't think he's going to be rewarded for it at the moment. The people who went straight have climbed on track.
Definitely not. He's also amongst the pilots who are the lowest, and he's quite far away from the turn point. And behind
Is
him,
Sierra Lima in trouble? I see them extremely low.
yeah,
I wonder if they even took off.
That's I think the above ground altitude, above sea level altitude of the airfield is, I think we discussed yesterday, 450 meters. So that's just 200 meters above the airport. He probably took off, but he might be just above some outlanding field right now. For his sake, I hope not, but it appears he is in trouble. Correctly, yeah. As we see Victor 1 now, who took that alternative route following that ridge, but I think the ridge is working, just that the route is so long that he did not gain anything.
He doesn't seem like he's got a very good climb where he is at the moment.
No, you should probably just accept the mistake, try to catch up with the rest, but
We go back to Jerome, Juliet, and see if he's managed to climb away.
yeah, I'm sure our TV director will switch any second. Oh, here he is.
Dear.
And the answer is no, he didn't.
But maybe he's working the ridge already. We'll see, I think, pretty quickly whether this terrain is working at all.
Yeah, would you be willing to fly like this in real life, or do you think this is that's too low?
Maybe with an FES, but I'd certainly be concerned from this position.
Yeah, as mentioned previously, pilots are instructed to don't take any bigger risks than they would do in real life. But again, it's the virtual world. It's hard to get that adrenaline as you would in the real glider. But right now, I would be sweating quite hard if I was in his position.
I think so. Now look at this. He's getting really good energy along there. So I think these pilots who've stayed a bit higher seem to actually be working the ridge lines running north.
Yeah, we are watching Ben. He was second place yesterday. He was in the fight for the win all the way till the last few kilometers.
And this
right
picture
now,
looks really good.
yeah, it looks like a wallpaper for Condor almost.
I mean, just from the soaring perspective, it looks like that's going to be a really good line of energy he's following along there. So I think he's going to be pretty comfortable with where he is at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. And again, I think he's again the favorite to win today, as every day basically. He's a really good virtual pilot, but he has people chasing him, and Pierre is there as well, our yesterday winner. They're all following this really, really good ridgeline, and I think everybody who missed that will be kicking themselves later on.
So I understand that Ben flies in virtual reality. He doesn't fly with a computer screen. He's flying with VR glasses. I wonder if that's going to help him.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I did not realize that, and yeah, that could be interesting. I'm actually interested what people think about it. So for people listening, do you prefer flying VR or monitor? And if VR, do you think that gives you any advantages in looking around?
I think it must give you an advantage in mountainous terrain, just being able to have a quick look around and see what the ridges are doing around you. It's very easy to get a bit of tunnel vision when you're just looking at a computer screen.
That's true, but on the other hand, I know from, for example, if you have people driving racing simulators, faster guys always use monitors and not virtual reality glasses. I don't know how similar it is to this though. We see Juliet still pushing up in front. He somehow survived his ordeal, and he is definitely high enough to reach the next set of cumulus clouds.
So I think these low ridges must be working a little bit, but I would still prefer to be at the tops rather than halfway up them.
Yeah, there is no need to risk that much, especially so early in the task. And even if you get up in front, you are just going to be one big thermal signal for everybody behind you, and they will probably catch up with you even if you're a bit higher than this.
There's a few pilots who've fallen off the ridges even still though. So Tango Sierra here looks like he's decided to go out in the valley while the other pilots ahead have stayed on the ridge. He may be going to try and join Juliet.
Yeah,
But you can see this big ridge line out on the right there that still looks much better than the low-level hills these guys are going for.
Yeah, at some point they will have to go off that ridge though, unless they do what you suggested in the beginning of the stream and just follow the ridges further east of our task today. And you mentioned you have some records of Mario's flight from real life Sailplane Grand Prix today. How does the airlines compare to his?
If we can have a look at the 2D view, I'll have a quick comparison again. Yeah, so I think at the moment they're taking a very similar route to the route the winners took, heading a long way east to track out there. Let's see if it's even on the same ridge. But it seems quite a natural progression from where they are now, that they're going to continue going almost due north, which is way off track. But the ridge is just so much higher and so much better. You can see there's a few people who've split off to try and go a little bit more on track. When you're flying in the flatlands, of course, you try and not deviate more than 30 degrees or so off track because it starts to get so inefficient. But in the mountains, rules can be completely different. You sometimes go 50 or even 60 degrees off track if it really aligned better with the terrain.
Yeah, we see two distinct tactics now forming, with a smaller group taking the direct route, as you said, and the rest following the ridges. It will be interesting to see who decided better, but I think most of the pilots who were in the lead group yesterday decided to take the ridgeway, the only exception being Fox 1, who is right now following Tango Kilo Mike on the direct route. And while all this was happening, I think we can confirm now that Sierra Lima Lima of Santiago Lopez has landed and is done for today. We can see now this group of two pilots pushing on the direct route, and Kilo Mike of Tim, he's in front, and I think he will be the first to reach the next cumulus, and I'm sure pilots behind him will be eagerly watching if he indeed decides to circle under this one.
It's going to have to be a strong climb with these kinds of cruise speeds. You really need to be climbing in at least 2.5 meters a second to be cruising at 200 kph.
Yeah, we saw yesterday pilots circling almost 3.5 meters. Today, not so much, although we didn't really have a chance for that, as they were following quite some good ridgelines so far, as a lot of them still do. And we see him now did decide to thermal with Vitold now joining him. We'll see some vario numbers. Unfortunately, we don't have the average vario. We just have the current vario, so just we'll have to average the numbers out. But it looks like a thermal.
Yeah, it looks like at least 2.5 meters a second there.
Yeah, maybe even more. It looks solid. So maybe the director guys hit a jackpot right now.
Yeah, it could well be. If they're really climbing 3 meters a second average, then the direct route will be faster than going on the ridges, I think.
Yeah, and just as we said that, we jumped to Ben, who is leading the, let's call them the ridge group. He's not in a good position right now. He's alone in front. If I was him, I would maybe slow down a bit, not push too hard, maybe wait for some people to catch up to find the thermal easier with them.
He still seems to be finding some good energy along the lift there, and if he's got a good plan of where he's going to go along those ridge tops, I wouldn't be too concerned about being out in front. But I think it is going to get a little bit trickier from here. When you look at the terrain ahead, it's not quite so straightforward.
Yeah, do you reckon he'll jump to that cumulus on the right side? As we
It's hard to say given he's followed the ridge so long here, but I think really he needs to find a thermal now, and now would be the time to do it while he's on top of this ridge. But it's like real life, the thermal is going to be stronger off the top of the hill there rather than if in the valley.
Yeah, we did see though that practically every cumulus today has produced a good thermal for most pilots.
Is that him turning now, Bravo Fox, I think?
I think he just changed his mind about which route to take. I think he turned right towards the cumuluses we were talking about. Or actually he went even further east, so he will
That's
follow this
interesting.
ridge and then try to jump to those cumulus clouds that are forming, I think, above the valley. Quite a big
Maybe we could
detail.
have another look at the 2D view and we can see what ridges he's going for there. Okay, so he's still actually got a little bit further north to go. Can we pan a little bit further up? Yeah, so you can see now the logical ridge he's going to run to. So I don't think he'll stop to climb. I think he's going to keep jumping straight into that next ridge there and keep going north for a bit further.
Yeah, a really good insight, Matthew. You, of course, having a lot of mountain flying experience and also flying in this area that we fly now in the virtual world.
So we've really got two distinct routes going on now. There was the gaggle following Bravo Fox out to the slightly more off-track route to the right, and then another group following, I think, Mike Yankee Romeo on a much more direct thermal-driven route.
We had a question yesterday in our stream, Matthew, which I think you would be the really good person to answer. Basically, somebody wanted to know if is it possible to integrate Skyside weather or some other weather service into Condor to have true live weather.
We can certainly make that possible. I have sent an email to that effect to the Condor team in the past, so if anyone from the Condor team is listening, get in touch and we can make that a reality.
Well, that sounds awesome.
So we're seeing a very strong climb here. It looks like maybe in excess of 3 meters.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was away for a minute. Yeah, that's the group taking the direct route. Is this still the same thermal they got at the low altitude? I think it is.
And that's JJJ there again. So he's done quite well for himself now. So I think they're actually taking a middle route. So there's the gaggle out to the west following TKM, and the
Yeah.
gaggle out to the east following
Yeah,
Bravo Fox, and then this small gaggle that's just going halfway between.
yeah. Excuse me, I messed up a bit there. So now we have 3 distinct options, I guess. Can we go
So
to
it
the
looks like
2D view maybe for a second again?
yeah, so we can really see them there. But maybe I think the middle group there is actually following the same path as Bravo Fox, but they're working the thermals rather than the ridge.
Yeah, maybe a bit more conservative approach, staying high, staying safe.
If the ridges are working, though, I think you really need to be following them all the way to the end, and then you take the thermal just off the very last bit of the ridge. Whereas if you keep climbing and thermals above the ridge when it's working, I think it's going to be slower, and we're seeing that play out.
Yeah. So we have some comments coming from you. I'm trying to follow what you viewers are writing in.
Okay, can we
to-
see the comments?
you can check them on either Twitch page on the right side or on YouTube, and always answer some of them. First of all, Cheeseman, yes, this is the same task and same weather conditions that the real life pilots flew this day. We are trying to make the virtual Grand Prix as similar to the real one as possible. And yeah, the landscape is modeled by the Condor community. At this point, pretty much the whole world is covered already by Condor, and you can always download the landscape near your area and practice to improve your real-life flying or to get your first step into the soaring. Matthew, I believe you have some small troubles with your microphone.
Not to my knowledge. I'm just trying to load up the Twitch stream and see the questions myself. You hearing me okay now?
Yeah, now it's back
Yeah.
to perfect.
I think loading Twitch at the same time as overloading my whole computer on this dodgy hotel Wi-Fi.
Also, we have another question: what joystick to use for Condor 2? Well, basically any PC joystick will work. You can also, of course, use keyboard, but don't expect some high performance competition results with that. And use of rudders is, of course, of rudder pedals is, of course, encouraged. But I believe every pilot has his own setup, and also each of them has their preferences of what they like the most. And I think it would be a good question for today's winner to see, ask him what setup does he use for flying. And our
I think some other
principal.
pilots have written on their profile what they're using.
Oh, that's good. That's good insight. We will definitely go through that. I just want to mention that actually the prize for the winner of the competition is from Just Soaring. They're our principal sponsor, and they will provide a really nice setup for our winner. That's I think worth around $2,000 American dollars. So that's a really nice prize for our winner, and thank you for supporting this competition. And now let's focus back to the action on our hands.
Maybe we could have another look at the 2D view to get another picture of where the gaggles are getting to. So they've really split into two gaggles now. The trailing gaggle that climbed in the thermal is pushing very hard, trying to catch up to Bravo Fox and Mike X-ray on the right there. And the slightly more direct gaggle, you can see they've got a little ridge coming up, which I think they're going to deviate towards on the northeast there. So I think the two gaggles could well converge up here. We'll see Whiskey Romeo Whiskey and TKM merging up with Bravo Fox at the end of this ridge.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where Victor 1 went, but the altitude also seemed quite close. So I think it's really realistic to expect them to converge, as you said, in the next few minutes, with pilots on the west side trying to catch some of those ridges that they missed previously, and pilots on the east side, they will have to turn more towards the turn point at some point anyway.
We could look at the 2D view just of the next 50 kilometers or so. We can start to see where they might be going next. Yeah, so here the terrain starts to get quite tricky. So you have this big ridge that runs through Cisteron going east-west, and with all the pilots trying to go north-south, it's going to make things tricky for them. But you can see these two ridges there on converging, and then yeah, I really think just to the northeast of Cisteron, the two gaggles will merge there. And they may well go to just flying thermals to the north of that, because the ridges start to get not so straightforward for ridge soaring to the northwest. And at some point, they're going to have to cross this valley as well. So there's quite a valley. If we can just go a little bit further north again, we can see there's the valley just around Gap there that they have to cross. And there is a nice ridge line there in the middle there that runs just towards Serie. And I think we'll see them jump across that. So if you see the little blue, I think it's a river line or something. I think that's where they'll be jumping across and then heading past that center turn point up to the northwest again.
Which group would you rather be in?
I think I'd rather be in the eastern group at the moment. So you can see they still have a little bit more of a snaking ridge line to go there.
Yeah, also they're all flying in really healthy altitude. And if you look at Juliet, he was really low on his own. Now he is leading
He's
gliders
doing really
in that
well.
group. And also, I think the highest of all the pilots right now, or second highest. So really,
It's a very
really good
impressive recovery. And he looks like he might be trying something different here. So I think he's going to go for that higher peak directly ahead of him, whereas everyone else has gone a little bit more on track.
Can we maybe switch
Yeah.
to Juliet?
This is no, it's a good view we've got now. But he's going to arrive below the top there, which is really not a favorable place to be. When you think about how the air flows over mountains, at the bottom it's moving very slowly, and as it all starts to converge near the top, it gets stronger and stronger. And right on the peak, you get the air flowing up from both sides. And maybe he's just going to get enough lift on the side here to pull up and sit on the top, which would be, yeah, he has. He's managed it. So it's really the perfect situation.
Yeah, really
So
good call, Matthew.
hopefully he's going to find a nice climb here. While the other guys ahead, you see, they're just coming to the end of that ridge line, and they may not have the height to connect to the next one.
Yeah, as I also read, we had some problems with yesterday's results. We'll get them fixed for you guys as soon as possible. No worries.
So Ben here is in the similar situation we just saw with Juliet, where it's hard to say whether he's going to have enough energy to pull up to the top here. So he might get all that energy along the side here, and then he'll be able to pull up and sit on the top, or he could fall just short. So you can already see he's got some lift coming, just looking at his vario there, even while he's flying so fast. So I think he's just going to pull up right on the top there. So it's interesting he's flying out to the side of the ridge rather than on the top. So if you think it's mostly thermal lift coming off the ridges, you'd sit yourself right on the top. But he must be thinking there's a bit more of a breeze influence, and sitting on this side is a little bit more favorable.
Yeah, and we see Julie there being quite much higher than everybody else, so still in that controlling position. Well, if we look way down in the background, the other group has found, I think, another thermal under that cumulus.
Could we have another look at the 2D view and see how the gangle was emerging or not emerging? Okay, so it's really interesting. Those pilots behind and on the more central track have not followed that ridge to the north that I would have expected was logical. And I guess they're trying to climb there, or they have climbed there, and they're going to go direct again. So they're really ignoring the ridges and just relying on the cumulus.
Yeah, I think the reason why they did that is because they found that good thermal just before the reach, and maybe they found it unnecessary to follow the other group. And also, if they are behind right now, so they have to try something different to catch up.
So notice they're cruising a little bit slower now, so they're not quite so confident anymore. They're only cruising 180, whereas before we were seeing them cruising 220 plus. So I think they're looking at this long stretch ahead where there's no cumulus visible directly on track and starting to wonder if they've made the right decision here.
Do you reckon they might go completely west towards the cumuluses that we see now on our left side?
Yeah, looking at the picture, I'd wonder if this might be the time to cross the valley. But I think my inclination would be to head to the ridges you see more on track or slightly to the right. And even though there's no cumulus above them, you can rely on there being lift coming off the top and hopefully a thermal as well.
Do you think that the I'm sorry, I lost my train of thoughts there. But yeah, they're now heading west towards that first cumulus, which I must admit, me flying personally a bit more conservatively would go for as well. But I think you, with your mountain flying experience so far, you were pretty right about the ridge route, and pilots thinking it are definitely in the better position.
Yeah, but I think it's worth understanding that these pilots have flown Condor a lot more and understand the ways in which it doesn't behave like real life as well. So I'm sure they're going to be pulling out some things that we won't expect at all.
Yeah, and that's also one of the exciting things about this competition. When you looked at the today's race, from the real life GP, have you noticed maybe some pilots taking this westerly route?
I will have a quick look, but I didn't see any of the winners going that way, which is an omen, I guess. So Mario Kiesling, who won the day, I'd say the Bravo Fox is basically taking the exact same route and strategy at the moment as Mario Kiesling did. But very interestingly, when we look at what the French did, the French team, Max Sace, he's more or less taken an even more westerly route than the westmost pilots we're seeing at the moment. He crossed the valley around Saint-Bon, which is south of Sisteron there, where you see Tango Sierra, and then followed the westerly ridges up there, which really do not align quite as well north-south as they do to the east. You see to the west there, a lot of the ridges start going west-east. So from Sisteron, you have that long ridge going west. And then as you get up in Serie, there's again another ridge going east-west. So it's really interesting to see that he was able to make that work. I think he had to use a few thermals to cross some gaps there.
Yeah, and of course, I think we see now there might be, I think, Yankee Romeo, who might have decided to change tactics. It looks like he will be switching more towards the east part, while everybody else is now basically committed to the other route. And I think the reason why he did that is there is quite a nice cumulus right in front of him.
It's really interesting that even though Max Sace and Mario Kiesling took completely different routes, they ended up coming in first and second, just a few minutes apart from each other. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays out here as well.
Well, we saw yesterday a quite exciting finish, and we saw that yo-yo effect of pilots who were in front getting caught by others, and this happened many times. So it's not impossible that we're gonna see something similar happen today. Although, especially now from this view, look how far ahead the ridge group is already.
I think it'll be very hard to catch up from this position for Yankee Romeo.
And also, weather looks much better to the east than to the west.
Yeah, they've got ridges and cumulus most of the way to the turn, whereas Yankee Romeo, if he decides to cross here, he's got a very long and slow glide.
Well, of course,
have-
Sorry, Matthew, go ahead.
Could we have another look at the 2D view? So we're seeing that group out to the east are just about to make their first crossing in the valley there, and they'll be really nicely aligned on the way to the turn with the ridge line after that. But then they'll have another valley to cross, that little valley just to the north of Serie, and that could cause them a little bit of difficulty, but I expect they'll be deviating a bit further west again to connect with those ridges. So you can see Serie just down on the valley floor on the left-hand side of this ridge they're approaching here. And I think they're going to be flying over Klaus Ullmann's house, if I remember correctly.
Most likely, yeah. And this looks good. This really seems like a good position to be in at the moment for all of them.
Is it possible we can have a look at the weather forecast or the weather parameters for the task somehow? I don't know if it's possible to bring them up again, because I'd be interested to know if this ridge is expected to work with the wind or just with thermals. Because it looked like, from what we've seen, the pilots are flying mostly on the ridges in a light westerly breeze. And this ridge is running really quite northeast, southwest. Sorry, northwest, southeast. So maybe it's not going to work quite the same. And you can see that Bravo Fox has brought himself in a lot higher on this ridge than he has on the other ridges. So I'd be thinking maybe he thinks it's not going to work. Remember before they were all pushing right below the ridge tops and then just pulling up to flop on the top. And here we see him overflying this hill by maybe a few hundred meters even. So I think he's really looking for a thermal rather than expecting to pick up much ridge lift here. And it's interesting he's letting Mike X-Ray get ahead of him. So he might be thinking Mike X-Ray thinks the ridge is going to work and he might know better. So
Yeah,
maybe-
but we saw Mike X-Ray, that's our Finnish pilot Mikko. Yesterday he did a really similar thing around our third turn point, but unfortunately for him that ended with an outlanding actually.
let's see what we know about Mikko Nurminen. So Mikko is a sailplane pilot and he's been on the Finnish national team for several years, and he finished in the top 3 at the Finnish nationals the last 3 years. So he's not only done a lot of gliding and is a very competent glider pilot in the real world, he's also a competent mountain pilot as far as I can tell, which would be unusual for pilots coming from Finland. He's flown from Rieti, so I think it's going to be very interesting to watch him. We can see those pilots behind again, choosing to take the thermals rather than the ridges. And now they seem to be climbing in the blue in a very strong climb. So they might actually get away with this crossing here.
Yeah, they might get away, but the other question is, will they be fast enough to score some points in the end of the day? It's not just
Well,
about
it's not
getting
looking
around.
like it just at the moment. But if the guys ahead arrive low on that ridge and do have to start taking the thermals, these guys might get the jump on them. So you see here, they're flying so high above this ridge.
Yeah, just for if any of you is not familiar with the scoring system, so our first 10 pilots will receive the points from 10 to 0. If you finish 11th, no points for you. If you finish second, 1 hour or 1 second behind the first pilot, you still get the same amount of points. So it's purely about your finishing position, which on the one hand might be really cruel for somebody who does something amazing and wins by 1 hour, but on the other hand, if you outland, you still have all the chances to win overall.
Yeah, it's what makes the finish exciting in Grand Prix, is that really 1 second can make all the difference. So Mike X-Ray, who pushed hard, is now potentially going to pay for the consequences of that decision. He's doing the strategy we saw before, expecting this to work like all the other ridges. And we're going to see here whether it's going to result in a climb for him.
Well, just a few seconds ago, we saw Juliet, who previously took that alternative line further east, maybe too far east. He was the highest of this group, and now he is still behind, but much lower than guys in front. Well,
It does look like this ridge might be working a little bit. I'm seeing Mike X-Ray with some good values on his Vario there. Maybe not climbing quite as quickly as we'd seen before, but doesn't seem to be too much in trouble.
Yeah,
but it looks like the more. Sorry, go ahead.
When you find a good ridge lift, that does wonders to your average speed, because you're still, even if it's a little, you're still also pushing forward, not just being in the same place. And this is what gave these guys such advantage today so far.
But look now, Bravo Fox is higher and ahead again. So the pushing down low and then slowing up has not worked as well as flying just a little bit slower and sitting behind.
Yeah, and in the background, the other group kind of exploded, which makes me think that their tactic is not working, because now everybody's trying to do something else, something different.
I think when you're thermal flying as opposed to following the ridges, with thermals, situation is changing constantly. There's cumulus forming, dying, and if you're slightly at a different altitude, you might have a different optimal decision, whereas the ridges are always in the same place. So it's a much more logical path people will follow.
Yeah, as I just counted, we have 18 pilots here flying, so I think we lost somebody else as well. Not quite sure who that might be. But yeah.
I did just notice when we were looking at the 2D view there that you could see the wind drift in the tracks. So it looks like it's a light southwesterly they're flying in.
Also maybe a bit stronger than expected.
It seems to, at least when I watched the briefing, it didn't seem to suggest the ridges would be really working, but they clearly have been for some of the pilots. I think this might be the decision point for the Japanese pilot here. He's going to arrive quite low on this ridge across the valley. So this is the Serie Valley they're crossing there. You can see Serie down on the left. There's that little brown field there, I think, is now full of solar panels.
Yeah, and of course, this turn point ahead of us, it's not the one pilots are flying towards. That's our fourth turn point. They have to fly actually quite a bit further away to, well, I'm just not going to try to pronounce that, but turn point 396, that's ahead of us, quite a few more kilometers away.
Could be a mistake starting to form up for this gaggle here, because they all look quite low crossing this valley, and I don't see these ridges across the valley being well aligned for ridge lift. So they're going to have to hope that they find some thermals ahead. It does look like Bravo Fox is about to pull under a nice cumulus though, so that might be what they're going for.
Yeah, it looks really healthy, but if that one's not working, they might be in trouble. And Juliet has decided not to follow them.
So this ridge across the valley that they're heading towards is a very high ridge. I think it's almost 2,500 meters. So they definitely won't be arriving on top of that. They're going to have to take a climb under a cumulus if they're going to connect with that ridge. I think I might actually prefer Juliet's route there across the valley to a ridge line that he can actually get on top of. And you see where he's going now. He's going to connect right on top of that ridge there. And I think he may well have a better run than the pilots who've gone further to the north and are going to arrive below the tops. It doesn't really show so well in the picture here how much taller that ridge out to the north is where the other pilots are going. But we do see Bravo Fox climbing under that cumulus now, so that's going to set them all right.
And we see the Juliet now arrive at that ridge that you talk about. And yeah, he will indeed arrive about the height of the ridge, maybe even above it. He does have some energy to pull up. I would love to see what kind of numbers the gaggle in the east is circling. So if we can go to Bravo Fox and see his vario numbers.
It doesn't look too bad. There's at least 2.5 meters there.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking at the stream with a bit of a delay. Definitely
Maybe
worth
it's
circling
not
for now.
so good. It's very hard to tell the average, but I think maybe it's actually below 2 meters even. So if that's the case, then Juliet, if he's able to make that ridge work or get a strong climb from it, he could really get a jump on the gaggle here.
It's nice to see different tactics happening in real life, as we have also Gorka from Spain following the path of Juliet. He will also arrive on a similar altitude. What happened to the group behind? They seem to have lost touch now completely with the leading pack.
Can we have another look at the 2D view and see where they've all split to? So the position Whiskey Romeo Whiskey is in doesn't look so bad. I think he'll be able to connect up with those ridges and work his way mostly towards Juliet. But the glider pilots behind, Romeo Sierra Tango, Charlie Romeo Whiskey, Tango Kilo Mike, I would not say are in such a great position from here. I think it's unlikely they'll be able to catch up.
They do have some altitude advantage to the guys in front, but the differences are not so big.
So you can see from Juliet's position there, Juliet rather, that they do have a little bit of a ridge line to run all the way to the turn. It's pretty messy ridges in there. I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but he might be able to make it work. Whereas the guys that are crossing the valley to that very high ridge, they don't really have a clean path to the turn except through thermals. But have a look at how much wind drift there is in that valley there now. The wind really seems to be a little bit stronger along here. So maybe the choice of Juliet is really going to work here if the wind is that strong.
I got some confirmation about wind speeds from today. So we have wind from 232 direction and 15 kilometers per hour is the wind speed.
Okay, I wonder if Condor models valley winds and things like that at all, as to whether it can be stronger or weaker through the task area, or whether it's really uniform through the task. I'm not familiar enough with the program.
I'm pretty sure there is some variance in that. But if somebody can answer that for us from the viewers, we'll be happy to share that.
It looks like JJ is struggling a little bit here. He's really slowed the speed up, but he doesn't seem to be losing too much height. So even if the ridge isn't working great, it's working just well enough to keep him moving along. And eventually he'll bump into a climb. Although, oh, look at this. He's just fallen off the top of the ridge there. He's in heavy sink and he doesn't have enough speed to get back on the top. So the dream might be dying here. He's going to have to find a climb below the top of the ridge to get back up there.
Yeah, I think terrain will still allow him to escape this valley to the north, although
it's not really a low floored valley in there. Like the floor of that valley remains quite high, so he won't have much breathing room before he has to find a climb.
on the other hand, we see now the Mika, who was struggling a bit low just a few minutes ago, now looking as good as ever.
He's doing really well. He's back in contention with Bravo Fox again. And we can see Zulu Romeo did in fact make that jump across just fine, and it's just behind the leaders now.
Yeah, a good choice. Good. You know, when you see something is not working, you have to change it. It's not worth sticking to something just because that was your original decision.
Can we have another look at Juliet, because I think is going to be in a really critical point very quickly. He's actually got back on top again here, so maybe he's got a nice pull up or taken a few turns and a bit of lift. And I wouldn't say he's at a comfortable height, but if he's able to keep this working all the way to the turn, he's going to have a big advantage. You can see the hill that got him in trouble back there, where Echo Uniform Sierra just pulled up over the top.
Yeah, the ridge is a bit lower now, and behind him, Uniform Sierra is also able to follow him. And looking back, the other group is quite far away now. They were, I mean, they are higher, but he's definitely in the lead at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's really been some masterful flying here. It's strange that they've swapped tactics, essentially, that the west gaggle is now on the ridges and the east gaggle is now stopping to climb and push.
Yeah, it would be nice to see maybe what Victor Romeo Victor is doing. He's the leader of our West pack.
It'll be interesting to see how the pilots on the ridge handle the turn. And we always see people predominantly outland near turns because you get tunnel vision and you're just thinking about how I'm going to get around the turn. And the safest decision is usually to take a climb. So you get an easy glide in and out back to another climb. If you try and push too much and don't think about what you're going to do when you're around the turn, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. As we go to Kreshimir, pilot we have not mentioned much today. He was a part of the West group, and he's now converging with the lines of Juliet. But he is, yeah, he's not really high, is he?
It's looking like a difficult position.
he does seem to have enough energy to maybe pull up above this ridge.
I think he'll clear it, but he's going to have trouble catching up to Juliet without doing something different. Oh, look at there's Bravo Fox circling again. So I think they're making the safer decision going into the turns, take the climb to glide in and out rather than trying to scrape in and out on the ridges. But if Juliet can make it work, he'll have a much faster run going in and out on the ridges. But look at this. So he's going to glide around there. And then where does he go? How does he get away from there?
Yeah, I think he will find himself in quite difficult situation in a few minutes' time.
I think we've seen from the start, though, that this might be a bit of his specialty to push really low and find the climb and get away with it.
Yeah, he was good, but I don't think he has an option to do the same thing he did in the first turn point. He cannot turn back and find that thermal the other group is circling.
So what do we know about Jerome? So he finished on the podium at the European Gliding Championships in 2017 with LS8 Lima Tango. He regularly flies Condor, and he was 6th at the World Championships in Montluçon and 77th overall in the real gliding world. So he's definitely a very talented pilot. So he should know what he's doing. Kilo Hotel not looking quite so healthy now. I'm not seeing any really steep slopes coming up. I think he's taken quite a different route to the turn than Jerome.
Could you maybe go to the 2D view for a second to get a good overview of the situation?
Yeah, this is really interesting, the way that Kilo Hotel's going. So I think he's trying to stay a little bit higher than Jerome. And whether that helps him to get around the turn, I'm not sure.
See, I was expecting when we looked at him a bit earlier, I was expecting him to fly the route of the two pilots in front of him. Although now looking at the map, that does not look like a smart idea. And the group behind him again has a thermal.
I really don't know where Jerome is going to go out of this turn. I see two options, that he goes either back the way he came, or he falls one valley further to the north and tries to ridge saw his way up there. But both of them, he's going to be touching the ridge so low.
Well, in any case, he is our leader at the second turn point, which is, well, the same. We have the same situation we had half an hour ago when he was at the first turn point. So congratulations, and well, good luck at the same time. And the pilot following him that kind of went under the radar for most of this time, Uniform Sierra, well, he's in the same kind of trouble as he is.
Look how well this ridge is working. Kilo Hotel's getting massive energy along this ridge, and that's the same ridge that Jerome is now heading towards. So Jerome might get away with this.
Yeah, really good decision. And if Juliet sees that, well, I'm sure he's on the path towards him. They will have to be careful to spot each other. We don't want any mid-air collisions, even in the virtual world. Also, regarding the rules, I can mention any mid-air collision, even if it's not, even if it does not destroy airplanes, is considered as outlanding for both pilots involved.
No one's got these canopy flashes in Condor yet.
No.
Every man and his dog in the real world's got one now.
Well, they are quite bright. You can see them, although you have to look out anyway. We should not rely too much on the technology.
I think they are a good improvement. I think they're 50% off just for the moment. So I just bought one myself, actually. Can we have another look at the 2D view and see when Bravo Fox and his gaggle are heading into the turn? Oh, wow. So they're a long way behind now. I think they've really made an error there by stopping the climb when Jerome has managed to get in and out on the ridges.
Well, they are also almost a kilometer higher than Jerome.
But that energy is going to be wasted if they're cruising a similar speed to get down to Jerome's altitude, and Jerome's flying that same speed ahead on the ridge.
Well, but it's the risk-reward situation. So I think They just decided to take it a bit more conservatively. The task is still quite long. There will be chances to catch up, but we saw Jerome being really low just a few minutes ago, and it could have easily turned out the other way for them.
I'm sure Bravo Fox is looking at Jerome down there, thinking that Bravo Fox has made a mistake. But yeah, it does look now like Jerome is going to have a little bit of trouble on that ridge there. He didn't climb all the way to the top, so it may well be that Bravo Fox can catch up. Killer Hotel around the turn.
Would you rather be in the Jerome's position up there? I mean down there, or be a bit behind and on the safe side?
I liked Jerome's position going around the turn, but that ridge didn't work as well as I expected. And now he's quite a long way behind the tops, very low, and the mountains are getting higher ahead of him rather than lower. So he's got some hard work coming up.
And of course, same applies also for Gorka just behind him. Well, I'm really interested to see how they're gonna get out of this one. It's really interesting with actually both of them throughout the task. We've been asking ourselves many times how are we gonna get out of this one, and so far they always somehow manage. So cannot wait to see the next trick they pull out of their sleeve.
So Bravo Fox is pushing very hard now, 220 kph. So I'm sure he's got the blood eyes coming down and trying to figure out how he's going to catch up. Can we compare the cruise speed between Bravo Fox and Jerome? So Bravo Fox is cruising 220. How fast is JJ going? Yeah, JJ's going 125 kph, so almost half the speed, even though he's getting good energy. So it may not be long at all before Bravo Fox catches Jerome if he pushes all the way down to the deck. You see the hills are starting to get really complex for Jerome here and not straight lines anymore. If we have a look at the 2D view, I think we'll see that the topography gets a little bit more complex just up here. So they have to clear this ridge ahead. And then if we go a little bit further east on the map, we can start to see the topography they're going to have to work with in this next leg. So they should be able to ridge saw that very large ridge near the slope there, just to the north of the center turn. And then again, it gets quite complex all the way into the turn.
Yeah, they will follow the same route that the Bravo Fox took on the way there. Afterwards, probably sticking to the north as we discussed at the beginning, I presume.
And this is the point I was talking about, though, where it's probably time to switch from ridge soaring flight to thermal flight. Because the ridges don't really make good sense from the middle of this leg onwards. And I think if they switch to thermal flight, just climb and glide, they're going to go faster than trying to work these really messy ridges.
So straight ahead towards the turn point.
So what Juliet will be hoping for here is that in the next 5 or 10k, it's a really good climb, climbs himself all the way up to the top, and then he's probably only a couple of climbs away from being able to final glide the rest of the task.
What lines did our real SGP winners took at that point?
That's a good question. I will have a look. So I see that Max Sace went well south of track on this leg. Not the route we're seeing at all from these guys. Whereas Mario, what did he do? Mario also went quite a bit south. So most of them went almost to the 4th turn point to get the climb. And then they more or less all switched to thermaling flight for the rest of the flight. Just because of those ridges I was talking about.
We see
oh, this looks like a really nice climb.
Yeah, Gorka, our second place guy, he was following Juliet. Now he decided to thermal something that Juliet probably skipped. I presume they were flying the same path.
Yeah, but look how strong this is, 4 to 5 meters a second. So this could be the moment that Gorka really catches and goes past Juliet. And it's quite sad for Juliet that he's been doing all the hard work and Gorka's pulled this great climb just behind him.
Yeah, but previously I was looking at Juliet fight, and I think he's looking forward to that cumulus that he'll arrive to shortly. And
But the cumulus can't be stronger than what Gorka's got. 4 to 5 meters a second. There's not going to be anything that strong. The best he can hope for is he gets the same strength. But if he does get it ahead, having ridge soared a little bit further, I think he will still remain ahead of Gorka. But if he only gets 3 meters a second, I think he's going to get overrun.
well, let's hope he doesn't catches up a tree or something. He will jump across here, barely.
Working very, very hard there. 105 kph, just above the stall speed.
And I think he got something right on the
Yeah.
place we spoke about.
He might just be working the ridge, or maybe he thinks there's a climb there. I think it's very hard to tell when you're close to the ridge whether when you do a turn it's actually going to be a thermal or it's just a little gust up a gully. He's having trouble centering it, but there is a really good lift there. Have a look at Bravo Fox and his gaggle taking the very conservative approach and climbing behind yet again. I think they've watched Jerome fall lower and lower ahead, and they're thinking this might be the way to differentiate themselves.
Is Gorka still having that thermal that we saw him?
Let's have a look at Echo Uniform Sierra again, please. No, so he's quite high, so I think the thermal was just so strong that climbed up very quickly. But look at where Bravo Fox is now. So Bravo Fox has actually glid over the top of Echo Uniform Sierra. Bravo Fox is still pushing so hard, doing more than 200 kph, while these guys are only thermaling, only cruising 150 on the ridges.
Yeah, the
But he's seen Juliet climbing. I bet he's got his FLAM radar set up, and he knows that it's a strong climb he's got, so he's making a beeline for it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for the 2D view again.
It's really interesting where Juliet has got that climb, because I didn't expect them to go into that little valley to the north. But if the wind is in fact southwesterly, that's actually a really good location he's gone there, because the wind will blow straight up there and all the climbs will get blown up out of that valley along that peak.
Yeah, I think that's the cumulus I mentioned before was located there. Maybe he saw that one as well, but I think he doesn't care right now as long as it goes up. While this is happening, we have another pilot in real trouble. Actually, two pilots, I think, Kilo Hotel and Romeo Whiskey. They're quite low, I would say, just behind this group.
Oh yes, you're right. They do have a strong climb there now. So it's really hard to tell without the average. They're climbing, so I think they're gonna get away, but they're gonna be so far behind.
Yeah, and while all this was happening, Bravo Fox, he decided he does not need the thermal Juliet is having, and he's pushing ahead.
Maybe he just flew through and he didn't get the thermal and decided to keep going. He might have been above the altitude the thermal was going to. Or he might have seen this ridge ahead or remembered even where that climb he took before was and is just heading back to the same climb.
So, such a nice landscape, such a nice ridge. It makes me really miss flying, just looking at these pilots fly in the virtual world.
It's really such a beautiful place to fly. This is usually where I prefer to fly from, the Gliding Club Serie, just down in the gap in the hills you see to the right there.
We got some more comments coming in for you guys with the VR versus monitor debate. And well, I guess the community is a bit split on that one as well, but most of you saying that VR really provides some good immersion, and I can only agree with that. And well, it makes me feel sick, but the real planes do as well. So
So Jerome doesn't seem to be climbing so well anymore. I think he might have really blown it here. Just pushing a little bit too hard in the wrong spot, and those guys who are more conservative behind clearly made the right decision.
yeah, as we got two other pilots catching up with him and now taking a different route, we have Alpha Mike and Mike X-Ray. They're not gonna follow the reach that others did. Can we maybe take a look at this situation from the 2D overview? I think they're heading for the higher mountains up north.
It's quite a different strategy here, but I really think the route Bravo Fox has taken there is going to provide a very good line lift. And if they can get back to that really strong climb they had just across the valley, they're really coming quite close to final gliding around the task.
Well, they are behind. They might as well try something different.
That looks like quite a nice climb. Not seeing any hesitation from Juliet. Juliet behind again. He's quite keen to keep rolling the dice over and over until he gets some more good luck.
Well, we do have, what's that, 6, 8 pilots now in this leading group. So if they do not make any mistakes, and with these pilots being behind, and him also being the lowest of this group that's following.
You're right. He has to take some risk.
Yeah, he needs to try something different to get any points today. So again, coming 11th, even with a small time difference, doesn't give you anything. Big pull up. Well, with
You
the
can
group,
see Bravo Fox has that really good climb on the ridge, going through 2,300 meters. That's going to get him basically into the next turn.
yeah. Although the high mountains group has taken over the lead of the race, I still think the position of the Bravo Fox and his compatriots is better.
Can we have a look at the 2D and see if there's anyone else with a completely different strategy out there? Yeah, so it looks like it's really just split into those two groups. But look at Alpha Mike, this pilot we were just looking at before. He's really pushed out by himself out there.
Yeah, and well, he is also not that low. So one good lift, and he's back in the game.
I still think it's a mistake how those pilots are pushing through the ridges there. You look how high Bravo Fox is climbing behind and how complex the topography is ahead and how obstructed the wind is there. So with the other complex valley just across there, I wouldn't be expecting to get good ridge lift off those very broken slopes. Alpha Mike looks like he might have just pulled into a climb. So if this is a strong one, he could still get the jump. But I think I'd rather be in Bravo Fox's position right now.
How do you expect pilots to fly back from the third turn point to the fourth one?
They have to do it in thermals. I think it'll be too hard any other way. There's some really tall peaks coming up though, and they really need to be at cloud base if they're going to hope to go over the top of them. They might just have to go around them.
We have Mike X-Ray and Juliet now finding a thermal there.
And that looks like a really strong thermal. Look at the gradient on that circle.
Yeah, we're just looking for a good word to describe that. Although numbers don't seem to show that anymore.
No. Well, there we go. Actually, we're now seeing 7 meters a second from Mike X-Ray. It's just not very consistent.
Might be worth a turn or two. And they do have clouds line up
Yeah, it's a nice straight. But you can see how high those mountains ahead are.
Yeah, and they will be passing quite close to them, and Bravo Fox will join this cloud street now with his group, while Alpha Mike is there below them. Would you say in trouble?
I would be very uncomfortable in this position. He really needs to pull a strong climb here. I wouldn't be expecting the ridges to reliably deliver from here on.
So with 170 kilometers completed for our leader Alpha Mike, so Arne, we have just 100 kilometers to go now, and I would like to thank all of you who are still with us. Keep asking questions. Me and Matthew will be happy to answer what we know, and thank you for staying with us, and well, looking forward to the exciting finish of the race.
So look at where Alpha Mike is now with this really nice valley here, or this gully rather, the slopes going up the side there. He could get a really strong climb out of this little area.
Yeah, and well, I just wanted to say, and he just did, but I wouldn't be 100% sure into that.
The trouble is, this could be really the last couple of climbs coming up. So if they've got 100 kilometers to run and they're getting up to 2.5, maybe even 3,000 meters up here, there's going to be a real chance that Bill can just fly around the rest of the task. I think the finish altitude is about 400 meters. So if you get 3,000 meters above that finish, yeah, so I think they're about 1,000 meters to 1,500 meters below final glide from here. The last few climbs will be really key to decide who wins.
Well, the airport is at, I think, 440 meters with the finishing altitude 500 meters.
Okay.
So they're deviating even further north than we might expected a few minutes ago.
I think it's a good choice. So I think right at the top there, they're going to get a much stronger climb than Alpha Mike's going to get from much lower in the gully there.
Just looking at this gives me chills. I want to fly, basically, right now. We are looking at our pilot from Turkey, Khalil, and he's actually never flown a glider in real life before. He's looking forward to doing his license in the future, and I really wish that he comes to France at some point and experiences this in real life, because it's just amazing.
He's just coming up to one of the most scenic places to fly in the southern French Alps. The Pic de Bure is this big mountain here. So it's a really good source for great thermals, for great wave, for ridge lift. And I think those guys are clearly taking advantage of it at the moment. So up to 2,400 meters and still ridge soaring. So I don't know how much of a tactician Donat Pierre, who won the day yesterday, is, but he's really just sat a little bit behind Bravo Fox the entire day. And I wonder if he's just waiting for him to make a mistake, for him to jump into the lead. You can see how aggressively they're flying now as well. It's still cruising 220, even 230 kph.
Yeah, we can expect quite high average speeds at the end of the day, possibly higher than the pilots did in real life.
I think that's certain at this point. They've had a very fast run, but they're pushing very aggressively here. And I mean, I see one trigger between them and the turn with no cumulus over the top. So if they don't climb on this ridge here, I'm not really sure where they're expecting to climb. It seems like quite a big gamble at this point.
Could we go to the 2D view for just a second?
You
Perfect,
can
thank
see
you.
that ridge we were talking about. If they don't climb on that ridge, I don't know how they're getting around the turn.
Yeah, that will be really hard. And then they have to come back somewhere as well against the wind.
I think Bravo Fox must have the confidence that if he pushes out, he thinks everyone's just going to follow him anyway. So if he doesn't get the climb, everyone's going to get loaded together.
Yeah, that's a good logic. And at this point, everybody is following pretty much the same tactics. We don't have these different groups anymore. Yeah, let's maybe go back to the live images of the Bravo Fox to see what's he gonna find on that ridge. Well, nothing is the answer.
Taking a nice pull up there, but I'm really surprised we haven't seen him turn yet. Here we go.
Not yet, yeah. I spoke too soon, and I think he would be really happy to find this one.
That was not a very nice entry from Donut there.
Yeah, again, saying we do expect pilots here to follow the same standards as in real life. Also to set a good precedent for pilots. And we have Gorka who will now try to touch the turn point and maybe turn back to these guys.
So that can be a really smart technique, is you just go nick the turn point and then come back to the climb with the people who are climbing towards the turn point. But the wind isn't super favorable for doing that today. It works much better when you've got a tailwind, a headwind to the turn point rather than a tailwind.
Yeah, he will arrive from the wrong side of the ridge basically, and definitely not over the ridge.
I think this is a worthwhile risk to be taking at this stage of the flight, though. You could really this is really a point where you could make a point of differentiation and do something different and get away with it. So here's the question: does he go back to the climb? And it looks like he will.
Again, we see these really high speeds when pilots are turning. I'm wondering if the engine in Condor does not penalize you as much for high G turns.
Yeah, I think it mustn't.
Yeah, we've completely forgot. So Gorka is our leader at the second to last third point.
And if he gets that climb, I think he's going to be in a commanding position. Interesting that Bravo Fox isn't pushing harder. He's only cruising 210 now. So he may be thinking about going direct rather than going back to that climb.
Well, he also knows that climb. He maybe he just doesn't feel that confident in the weather at the moment. But
I
there are
think
some.
he must be planning a longer glide. So he's thinking he's not going to go back there. He's going to go for a long glide straight. So he might think that he's been outwitted by Gorka. And if he doesn't do something different now and not go back to that climb, he's going to get beaten by him. So I think we're going to see Bravo Fox try and go direct. Looks like Mike X-Ray might be going back to the turn. I don't see where Bravo Fox went. Can we have a look at the 2D view and see where people are going out of the turn?
Look at these acrobatic maneuvers taken by the pilots at that turn
Yeah.
point.
It looks like Bravo Fox might be going back to that climb. So if who was the pilot head, sorry? If Echo Uniform Sierra doesn't seem to have even stopped for it. He continued past it. So either he missed the climb or he's really got something else planned.
I was surprised he got high enough to cross that ridge. It seemed he was a bit too low for that. But he's just gonna follow this ridge now towards the first turn point, and Well, so far it seems to be working for him, and I'm sure Ben is watching what the pilot in front of him is doing.
I think so, but I'm not sure how Ben catches him unless he makes a mistake at the moment. And Ben is still cruising quite slowly, so I think he is quite concerned about what's going on ahead or where they're going to get their next climb. So maybe whatever made him think that climb on the ridge was there isn't telling him the same thing anymore.
We have some people guessing that Ben is already on the final glide. I wouldn't say so, though.
I think he'd be at least 500 meters too low, but it won't be long from here. I think if you're at 3,000 meters now, you'd say you're on final glide, and they're about 2,200, 2,300.
Most of you are probably familiar with silent wings, which we usually use for following the real SGP races. With this being one of the first events broadcasted like this in Condor, we still don't have all the tools that are available to us for real live broadcasting. But I can assure you that in the future you can expect the overlays where we will show how close pilots are to the final glide and such.
I think some of the pilots are actually streaming their flight on Twitch, so it would be interesting if we could occasionally switch over to them and see what they're actually seeing on their screens and their setups.
That is a really, really good idea.
Do we know if the pilots have the same wing loading limitation as the real SGP?
Yes, the wing loading, I think 48 kilograms per square meter is the same as in real life.
Okay, because they're pushing extremely hard then, considering that. At 48 kilos a square meter, pushing 220 kph in a JS3 is really hard going. So I don't know what Echo Uniform Sierra's plan is here, other than to pick up a thermal and hope it's a really strong one to keep ahead of the gaggle, because I don't think he's going to stay ahead of those followers unless he flies into at least 3.5 meters.
Who did you mention is flying in VR before? Do you remember?
Bravo Fox, I believe. Interesting again, he's still cruising so much slower than the other guys, even though they're lower ahead. So I still think he's a little bit concerned about where his next climb is going to come from.
Well, I can tell you, I just found the Twitch stream from Alpha Mike. He's streaming this via Twitch live right now, so can of course go there and check it out as well. And he's also flying in VR, as far as I can see by the head movement. And
can you see if they think they're on final glide? Do they have any kind of final glide indicator on their screen?
I am not sure. I can tell you he's set the McCready to 2.5 and has roughly 78 kilometers left to go. Yeah, I think he's 700 meters below the final glide. So that's
Okay, that would match my expectations.
Well, that's one way to get data from the pilots. So thank you for sharing that. It's a really good insight, and I hope we can get it up on your screen in the following days.
Okay, so if he's 700 meters below final glide, it needs to be about 2,900 meters from here to get home, which, yeah, that really sounds about right. So I think cloud base is about 2.5, 2.6. So we're really coming down to the last climb of the day. And if Echo Uniform Sierra can get that climb up here, and it's a strong one, he will win the day.
Yeah, he has been a bit quiet in the first part of our today's task, but now in the second half he really came from behind and is now alone in the lead. Can we go maybe to the 2D view and see how this is unfolding?
So Echo Uniform Sierra has actually picked an interesting route there. He's actually figured out a way to make those little ridges work. And now he's got quite a nice line to the second to last turn point there.
Yeah, and Juliet Sierra is following him, so the inverse situation of what we saw previously. But Ben behind, he is much higher. Do you think that's catchable?
I think that'd be a bad level. And so, I mean, this is what I'm talking about with the strength of the climb, that if Echo Uniform Sierra gets, let's say, 4 meters, he will be higher by the time Bravo Fox arrives. But if he gets 2 meters, Bravo Fox is going to join a couple 100 meters ahead of him.
Yeah, and with values set on the pilot's instruments, we can expect something roughly in between those two numbers.
I think Bravo Fox, all things considered, has been flying the most like a winner at the moment. He's been taking conservative choices the whole day, hasn't ever really got himself into trouble, and he's been consistently near the front or at the front the whole day. So if he keeps flying this way through the contest, he's going to win. Whereas these guys who are pushing ahead, even though they're spending time out in front, they're just taking much, much more risk, and eventually they're going to come to grief.
Well, we do have some rewards for daily winners as well, but well, the best rewards are for the guys who will finish the full race in the first place.
I'd be concerned if I was Juliet or Echo Uniform Sierra that I'm not pushing hard enough at the moment, because when they're only doing 160, if they're planning on bumping into a 3-meter climb, they've been flying too slow towards it, and Bravo Fox is going to catch them.
I can tell you that Alpha Mike now has minus 600 meters final glide.
So he's flying not super fast or super slow. I'm not sure what his plan is here, because he has to do something different to catch up. I think he really has to be pushing much, much harder if he wants to catch them and get any points today.
Well, he's currently, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around 8 on the road, I would say.
Oh, here we go. We've got a climb from Jerome. And Echo Uniform Sierra has left the ridge still without a climb to go to the turn. So that's a huge risk. I don't think he's going to get a strong climb out in the valley there. So I don't think that's going to be a winning move for him. I think JJJ has got a strong climb behind him. He's going to get the jump. And if it's strong enough, he'll get the jump on Bravo Fox as well.
Did he miss the turn point?
It looked like it, but I think it's very hard to tell on the screen.
No. I don't know. That looked incredibly close. Well, for his sake, I hope he didn't. There are some small penalties if you missed it by just a little bit. So it's not a DQ or did not finish immediately.
I was seeing this play out in real time behind what I was talking about, with Bravo Fox potentially joining above if the climb wasn't quite strong enough. So it's 3 meters maybe, which just wasn't quite strong enough to get above Bravo Fox before he cleared in.
Yeah, and you were really spot on with the numbers. So a nice 4-meter climb would put them quite level there.
So I think at this point, Bravo Fox is going to win the day with Donat just behind, because they'll take this up to 2,500 meters, and that should be a reasonably fast final glide in. There's not going to be many options to differentiate yourself between here and the end. There's a few routing options along the ridges, but I really don't know what the right choice is going to be.
Yeah, and these guys are probably already in the final glide by now.
The only hope for Echo Uniform Sierra is to really get 3.5+ meters, such that he can outrun Bravo Fox.
Or he's gonna dive for the ridge. Maybe he can just follow that one, get some altitude this way.
He really has to be cruising even faster, because otherwise Bravo Fox is just going to push harder and catch him. but he's boxing himself into a corner here. The faster he flies, the lower he gets, the weaker the climb will be.
Quick answer to our viewers. The finish is 500 meters mid-sea level, so that's 60 meters AGL.
So have a look at the ridge line that Echo Uniform Sierra is heading up to. He's actually going to try and take the same path out of the turn, possibly ridge soaring his way up to final glide rather than taking the thermal. And I mean, that did work on the way in fairly well, but not great. So maybe he does have a good idea here.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. I'm looking at the live pictures from Alpha Mike now in that thermal. They have an average value of 2.9 meters at the moment. Almost 2.8, 2.9 meters at the moment. And in VR, I can tell you guys, this looks incredible. We had a VR versus monitor debate, and yeah, he really seems to get a really good overview also where other pilots are with the VR setup. And if you haven't already, give it a shot. Try flying in VR. I'm sure you will all like it. On the other hand, we have Passy commenting that his money is on Eco Uniform Sierra because he thinks ridges will work. And
I think the ridge may work, but if you look at the speeds Echo Uniform Sierra is cruising, he's only doing, I know here you see 120 kph, whereas Bravo Fox behind him is going to be pushing 220 kph.
And also Carlos, yeah, currently we cannot do the cockpit cameras, but I'm sure eventually we'll add a lot of new features to our stream, so stay tuned for that. And this event, this might be the first virtual Grand Prix final, but we are looking for many more to come.
So I think Echo Uniform Sierra may not get high enough here, ridge soaring for a really fast final glide in. I think he's still going to be a little bit below 220 kph final glide. So it really depends whether Bravo Fox is going to cross this ridge a couple of 100 meters higher and be able to push to the finish. Can we have a look at Bravo Fox's altitude? Oh, okay. I think I might be wrong here. I think Echo Uniform Sierra really might get it because by the time Bravo Fox gets to the end of that ridge, he's going to be probably also 1,500 meters.
Yeah, he will have to start pushing really hard, but he might just did enough in front.
But I still think Bravo Fox has made the longer term, better level of competitive risk here. He's taken a more conservative approach and he might come third as a result. But if he does it every day without stuffing it up, it's going to be a much better flying strategy.
Yeah, he's second overall currently, and also pilots around us right now were not the winners from yesterday. So Bravo Fox is the only guy from the podium, I think, who is again in that kind of a position. And this is how you win races, with consistently good flying.
Absolutely.
So I hear that Tango Kilo Mike has also live stream. I was not able to find it, but you guys go ahead. You can look for it as well.
So at the end of this ridge, there's really no more ridges in the task area to use. So it could be a good strategy here. It looks like Echo Uniform Sierra is actually climbing. So if there's no more ridges, if you have a climb that's stronger than your McCready glide, you really need to take it to come in faster. Can we have a look at how strong Echo Uniform Sierra's climb is? Okay, he only just topped up a couple of 100 meters maybe, but it's enough to where you can see he's not on a super fast final glide. 180 kph. But I think he's got about 40 kilometers to run and he's 1,000 meters above the finish. So he's probably still not super comfortable.
Yeah, he is going straight for that cumulus, and he will probably be able to pull up a bit there.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a few turns again. If he hits something nice and strong.
He does seem to have enough of a buffer to afford himself even one wrong turn maybe.
Can we have a look at the 2D again and see where all the trailers are? So let's see. Alpha Mike. Can you see what Alpha Mike says, whether he's on final glide or not? I would expect from there he's on a marginal final glide, about McCready 2.
Yeah, really good call with McCready 2.2. He's 30 meters below the finishing altitude.
So McCready 2.2 probably brings him in, I don't know, 180 kph. So he still would be looking for a climb to speed that up just a little bit, or some good air off this ridge.
Could we
Really
maybe
close.
look at? Sorry, could we maybe take a look at Juliet? We kind of forgot about him in the last few minutes, but he is now, well, chasing Uniform Sierra quite hard.
It's quite hard to tell the altitude difference in this. Maybe on the 2D view we can see just how different the altitude is. And look at the different track they're going.
Yeah, he's confident that his altitude can take him all the way to the finish, I think.
It looks like it. Can we have a look at the 2D view? So Juliet is at 1,500 meters. Echo Uniform Sierra is at 1,300 meters. So he might I think he can push past Echo Uniform Sierra.
Yeah,
Bravo
and
Fox is at 1,700 meters behind. So it's going to be a really interesting test of who's judged their glider performance and final glide better here.
yeah, they all seem to be well, some have advantage in kilometers and some have advantage in the altitude, and I'm not sure who I would put my money on at the moment.
I think Echo Uniform Sierra's blown it at this point. He's deviated off track. He's a little bit low. He really needs to find some more energy. Unless he's lucky and hits, let's say, 4 meters, it's not going to happen for him. Bravo Fox, I think, is definitely on a comfortable glide here. He should get in flying 180, 190, and similar for Juliet.
Could we go for the 2D view just for a second? I want to see how. Yeah, so we see that Bravo Foxtrot is following Uniform Sierra, I think, not Juliet, which is surprising because he is higher than Juliet.
I think it's still the more conservative route to follow the line of slightly better energy, but I don't think he needs to climb again.
Yeah, that's my thought exactly. I do not find that necessary.
But if his long-term strategy is really low risk, if Juliet hits sink, he's going to potentially fall off final glide. I don't know how realistic random sink is in Condor.
It's always that gut-wrenching feeling when you suddenly start losing the meters on your final glide and you're so far ahead that you cannot change it anymore.
We're seeing that with Echo Uniform Sierra desperately throwing a couple of turns and slowly falling further and further behind. It looks like he might just be going for it now and hoping he gets some pull-ups on the way. But JJ is on a nice level, steady flight. I think he's pretty confident he's got it in the bag. I think Bravo Fox could be making a mistake at this point by not trying to push past Jerome, but maybe he already knows that he can't push past from this altitude, so he has to try something different if he's going to have any hope. And it doesn't really add any risk by doing the deviation. Fourth place is still a little bit further behind. I think they're getting quite bad air there, actually. He looks like he might even be falling below Juliet.
Yeah, seemed that way. And Pierre is just following Bravo Foxtrot at this moment, and well, our Japanese pilot, Zulu Romeo, has really had a bit of a quiet race. We haven't spoken a lot about him ever since he switched that line from west to east, but now he looks comfortably in the 5th position, I would say.
But he's just started a turn, which is interesting. And so maybe he's again deciding that, well, he can't beat those guys with his current strategy. So if he happens to hit a strong climb, maybe 1 or 2 turns and he can push past them if they get low. But I think probably it's too late. It did look like Donat, the winner from yesterday, may have actually got a slightly better glide behind Bravo Fox and is just sniffing around his tail now. Maybe he's able to push past with a bit of luck.
Yeah, I'm just looking now at Alpha Mike. I think I misread the McCready number I was telling you before. I think it's 3.2 now that I look at it again.
Okay, yeah. That should be a very fast final glide in. So Echo Uniform Sierra 1,000 meters. Jerome is down to 1150 meters, but just ahead. So Jerome has definitely beaten Echo Uniform Sierra. Bravo Fox is slightly higher than both, though. He's really playing his cards very carefully here.
And we have Pierre just on the tail of Bravo Foxtrot. So it's exciting to see such a close finish again. This is what Grand Prix style racing brings us.
Yeah, we're going to witness an incredible finish and the unfairness of the Grand Prix that someone's going to finish just a second behind and lose a couple of points for it. They're really getting quite low now. So I think it's now 25 kilometers to run and they're 500 meters above the finish, that's getting pretty flat. So I wonder if they really actually are going to have to climb again.
Well, I'm more used to the values from the club class, which I fly most often, so this would definitely be a panic mode right now for me.
Yeah,
I would
sorry,
say
it is
it's marginal.
actually, it's 19 kilometers to run. It's 271 kilometers, the full task. 19 kilometers, and they're about 500 meters above the finish with some energy. So it's pretty tight, but I think with a little bit of pull up here, they're going to get away with it.
I don't see the terrain up in front. Can they go direct, or do they have to go around the next one?
I think there's a little pass here. They can sneak their way over. But Echo Uniform Sierra, we will just get through there, I think.
Yeah, we'll see in just a second. Or, well, Juliet will show us. Yeah, there is a nice sneaky pass there, and sure they're all
Bravo
happy.
Fox sailing over the top. I think he's just got Juliet.
Yeah, and if Pierre is still behind his tail, Pierre will probably get them as well.
So there's a bit of a track difference here. So Pierre's about to make his move, I think. Trying to do something different.
We will get a photo finish between our leaders from yesterday, yet again.
So Juliet's now been passed, that's for sure.
It is also really interesting to see how much the pilots will be willing to risk, because there is quite severe penalty for coming a meter or two too low.
Yep.
So I think we have our podium set up right now. It's just a question of who's gonna be in which position.
I think Donut might have just slipped ahead of Bravo Fox there. Just because Bravo Fox deviated ever so slightly for the lift on the front of the ridge there, which probably wasn't worth it when you're already on such a fast final glide. It could come down to the efficiency of the rounding at the last turn point.
Yeah.
So
But we love it when it comes down to stuff like that. It's a proper racing finish. Are they both flying the same airplane? I know Ben is in Ventus. What is
and
the French pilot
Donat is in
flying?
the Ventus as well. Donat Pierre is in the Ventus.
Okay, so there will be no differences there.
I don't know if it's replicated in real life, but I think at the same wing loading, the Ventus 3 should perform better than the JS3. Or rather, that's how it is in real life. Whether or not it's the same in game, I don't know. So Bravo Fox will be kicking himself that little tiny deviation there, which has now cost him first place. And Donat has just been behind him the whole day, has just waited till just the right time for him to make a mistake.
But the altitude difference at this point it's practically zero. There is also an element of randomness now that will come into play.
For sure. And you can see that Bravo Fox is trying to introduce some more randomness by not just following the same track, hoping that something different happens to him if he flies just slightly different place.
Yeah, of course. If he follows exactly the same path, he cannot win because he will hit the exactly same air.
And JJ has taken a really different route, and I mean, it could still pay off from here, going over the hills here, but I think he's cooked it, and it's not going to be possible to catch up.
Yeah, I think with this small difference left, even if you have altitude, you basically cannot fly fast enough to catch up.
Okay, look at that difference now. It's too late for Bravo Fox. It's going to be Donat, Bravo Fox, Juliet, Juliet. The only possibility here is that Donat blows the finish.
Well, he's a really experienced simulator pilot, so I'm sure that will not happen. Of course, don't let us not put a commentator's curse on him.
He's still 150 meters above the finish with only 5K to go, so I think it's clear at this point it's going to be fine.
I think person who has to be careful right now is actually Ben, because it's easy to push too hard in the wish to catch up.
But I would think that after his very responsible flying all day, he wouldn't make that kind of error.
So our leader at the last turn point, and probably also our overall victor for today, finish coming up now in just a minute.
The only possibility would be that he'd had a penalty at the start or something like that.
Well, this of course can happen. Not out of the question, but really, really well flown from both of these guys. We mentioned Ben a lot, but the Pierre was flying really responsible as well, you know, just shadowing his competitor, and I think deservedly they are first and second overall, as they are first and second in both our competition days so far.
Yeah, very unfortunate result for Ben, having let out most of the day. Jerome is choosing to drop his water before the finish line.
Yeah, we saw that yesterday from pretty much everybody, actually. But I guess at this point, the finishing positions are already decided, so I don't think it will hurt them. And
we have 1, 2, 3. Now, is Echo Uniform Sierra going to make it in? Is Alpha Mike too low? Can we see the altitudes, please?
I don't think we are able to, because we have the sponsored messages. I can quickly check into his live stream. Oh, it's dead on 500 meters, but I think with enough speed, he should be just fine, I think.
But where's Echo Uniform Sierra? Can we see what happened to Echo Uniform Sierra? Oh, there he is. Oh, look at this. He's getting overtaken from below at the last second.
Oh, that's gotta hurt. Oh.
I don't know if he ever saw him coming, because he still had a little bit of altitude.
Yeah, What a really tight finish. I don't even know for which position now at this point. I would say roughly 5th, 5th, 6th.
6th? Yeah, I think so.
That was a really exciting finish, and yeah, it was a privilege to follow that. I think we will be able to bring you an interview with at least one of our podium finishers. So we'll stand by for that.
We look at the 2D and see where all the stragglers. Yes, the last few coming in. So Kilo Hotel, who we had high hopes for, looks like he unfortunately blew it. TKM, who we also had high hopes for at some point, also had an unfortunate result somewhere. And CS2 climbing away from very low.
But we still have 18 pilots still flying, which is a way more successful task than yesterday. And what I will be looking forward the most right now will be our what was our average speed today for the winners?
That's a good question. I have not been paying attention to that, but I feel they've done about 140 kph.
Oh, let's see. So the winning speed, I think it was 144 kilometers per hour.
That sounds about right.
Well, that was exciting.
It was a very exciting finish, wasn't it? So will we be able to interview one of the leaders there?
I hope so. I'm just saying this to ask our director if we're gonna get somebody. Just hang on for a second or two. I know we will have somebody, different pilots. One will go to the French stream probably, and one to the English one. And we'll let you know in just a second when we find out. While all of this is happening, we still have some pilots flying at Kilo Hotel. It's going to be the next one to cross the line. But I think these pilots are already out of the points at this moment, so we will not score anything, unfortunately. So, Matthew, any comments for today? What would you say about this race?
I was a little bit disappointed in the end, I guess, that there wasn't more diversity in the different tracks taken. They do all quite closely match Mario's track, except for the few that went to the west through the second long leg there. I would say they all had a very close look at Mario's flight and learned a lot from it before they started the race tonight. It was very impressive to see the really strategic flying by Bravo Fox. I think he was really flying like a winner, and I've got a strong bet on him to win the contest, dispute on the flying today. But Donut, 2 days in a row now, has managed to capitalize on that and get in front of him. So there's really strong potential there as well, I think.
Okay, and I think we have Juliet of Jerome in our live stream right now. Can you hear us?
Yes, he's here with us tonight, Mark. Well done for the commentaries, and well done to Jeroen from Belgium for the third place tonight. Are you here, Jeroen? No, he is disconnected. I'm going to try to bring him back now.
Well, he's one of the pilots who we were following the most today. I would say the award for the most daring fight would definitely go to him.
Yeah,
He was really working hard the whole day.
Pilot of the day, as we say.
he took the most risk by far, and he was unjustly rewarded in the end.
It happens sometimes with Sailplane Grand Prix, I would say. But yeah, maybe in the future we may have maybe a bonus point for the pilot of the day. Maybe we will see.
That
I
could
think
be
he
cool.
was
That
definitely the
might,
most interesting.
yeah, that might be a good idea in the future. Can you hear us now, Jeroen? No, still not working. We'll take Donapierre, and if the mic works later, then it will be fine for Jeroen. Okay, while we're waiting for the pilots to join, I have some speeds to give you. So we have Donapierre Luigi from France winning the day at 144.5 kph, followed by Benfest with 144.4. So that's the same podium as yesterday with Jeroen Jenen with 143.9. The top 9 is flying at 143 kilometers per hour, basically. So that's absolutely fantastic for us tonight.
And we saw tonight for the first time now virtual pilots beating the real ones. Well, we are still trying to get pilots into our chat here. We excuse us for the technical difficulties. While we wait, I would like to invite you all to come join us again tomorrow, and for the rest of the week, we will do the Sailplane Grand Prix around noon or at 1 o'clock, and then the virtual Grand Prix again in the evening at the same time as today. We saw some really exciting racing today, and I'm 100% sure we will see it again tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tuning in tomorrow. I hope to be here again tomorrow night, and after that, hopefully, I will be on a plane back to Australia, so I'll be leaving you for at least 2 days after that.
I think we got Donat Pierre with us now. Can you hear us?
Yes, he is with us, Donapierre, and we even have a video of him. So we'll have a real interview with him, and you'll be able to ask you the questions for tonight. Congratulations, Donapierre, for winning the day.
Thank you.
Now on the leading the competition as well with 20 points. What a race! We've seen as well Jeroen taking a lot of risk, and Benfest flying with you. What can you tell us tonight over the race?
Well, I think my strategy was pretty simple. Benfest is very consistent and fly fast. And also, I don't know him well, so I was kind of learning from watching him.
I cannot hear Donat.
Oh, you can hear it, me?
We cannot hear yet, but I think Timothée can make it work.
Well, you can hear me, Antoine, right? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Should I start over?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
I think there's a bit of an echo going on here. Maybe if you turn your audio up.
Yeah, I can reduce the volume of that. Here you go. Is it better?
Let's see. Do you hear the echo now?
I don't hear any
It's a little
comments.
bit weaker.
Yeah.
So can you tell us your strategy for the day?
Well, it was easy. I kind of wanted to bend fast so far is the one in close to contention. He's also someone that fly fast and is very very consistent. So I kind of wanted to fly with him also because it was fun flying together. And each climb I tried to outclimb him, but not try to take the lead. But he was quite fast, and actually it was hard to keep up with him and to stay behind. And at one point I thought that it was done on the last on the second to last turn point. He had 1 kilometer ahead of me. And then by just careful, nice glide and edging my way little by little, very slightly, like using the energy when it was changing, I managed to keep up in distance and gain a little bit of height. And then one point when we crossed the ridge, he decided to push left, and I felt that there was no, I felt enough energy positive, even though I was suspecting some wind shadow. It didn't happen, thanks to Condor. So I kept my line, and that helped me to pass him just on the hair. I mean, he deserved to have won tonight.
Did you look at the flight of the real pilots before the competition today?
The files? What do you mean by that?
I'm sorry. Did you look at how the pilots flew in the real Sailplane Grand Prix earlier today? They had the same task as you.
No, I mean, I know Benfest from and others from Condor. I did meet Johanan at Montluçon at the World. I was a crew for a US pilot in the club class. So I met a few of them there, and Matt Peters. But no, I not in real life. I'm not having that level yet.
Like the flights of Mario Kiesling today, did you look at how they approached the flight before you flew your flight?
Oh, you mean the real flight? Well, I have to confess, I was flying myself and I watched them for real from above when it took to stop. And then I had quite a few things to do today, so I looked at the results, but I didn't look at the tracks, no. And in a way, I wanted to keep it fresh for me, but I didn't want to be too influenced by what they did, simply because I don't think you can expect Condor yet to be as close to what they experienced. So maybe it doesn't bear any. I don't know, in terms of strategic choice, there's some hints you can get from it, but also you have to be like in real life flying. You have to be adapting to your strategy to what's happened right now. So I kind of play that way. And the second thing is the pilot with me tonight and another pilot they were this afternoon. So depending on what people were doing this evening, I have to adjust also. So I just kept a general. I looked at it the day after.
It might surprise you then that the routes of yourself and Ben Ford very closely follow the route of Mario Kiesling.
Yeah, because that's. I mean, in a way, I kind of saw the general picture of that. But it's as long as there was enough energy to carry us on the slope, that was the best way forward. And along the way, you can always expect to pick up a lift when you need it to bump up. So that's, I think, what Ben and I did. At one point, I hesitated to do a track change, let him go ahead and pick something I saw off to the right, but I decided to just keep marking him and flying together. Because if I did the previous days during practice, if I took an option that didn't work, then I lose big. If I go through the same option than the leaders, I stay with the pack. That was my basic strategy.
What would you have done differently if you were flying by yourself?
I think I would have been higher. I'd have taken some. There's some crossing we did, which was a little hairy. In real life, I wouldn't do that. And the second things, I think I would have maybe stay 100 meters or 200 meters more in some of those lifts. We left them a little early, I felt.
Do you think your experience in flying in the real world in this region is a help or a hindrance playing Condor?
No, I don't think it's a big help, but it's kind of nice. Like this afternoon, I was in some of those spots, so it was kind of fun to go back again virtually. It's also interesting because when I see where we are on the course, I know what's coming ahead in terms of the topology, so maybe it helps a little bit. But Grand Prix racing is about also strategy and tactically follow what the others are doing in order to place yourself to make sure you're above them, and then at the end you can pass them, and not necessarily to go the fastest, because if you take a risk to go faster and you lose big. The only thing you need to do is to watch out how the others are going. And last night, actually, while I was busy looking at the other one across the valley, Ben Fest actually caught up with me from below. I didn't notice he was going faster until the last second. So that's one of the things I do a lot. I used to race sailboat racing at a high level, international and national level on laser. And to me, it's very reminiscent of that, watching how the fleet is evolving and who you want to watch out, to mark.
And what is your strategy going to be for the days coming forward? Are you going to start plan to defend your lead?
I think one of my weaknesses is maybe to take the lead too early. So unless there's some big mistakes and I've got a big lift, I'm going to be very conservative, but it doesn't mean to fly slow. It means to try to get a little more energy than the person you're trying to be with, so that in the end you have more options. But then we're only at the beginning, and we have to be careful that every day something can happen, and then you have to take it day by day. And right now it's only 2 days. By the end of the week, there'll be a clear-cut situation about who you need to, in terms of points, who you need to watch out for.
Well, we're going to watch tomorrow with interest and see what you come up with.
Thank you, and congratulations again to Benfest. You did already a great job today, and also I was very impressed by JJ Howe, Juliet Howe. He was quite low and managed to keep up and close the race. Really, fighting from lower was maybe trickier, I think, to do.
It was really impressive watching the risks he took, that he just got away with time and time again, but was ultimately not rewarded for.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you again for the event, and I'm really enjoying this so far. And it's kind of a big day for me because I'm flying here in the afternoon. Today I only flew for 3 hours. Yesterday I flew for about over 5 hours. I was a little fried in the evening. So I'm enjoying the change of pace, but I think this week my strategy will be probably to get a little more rest.
It's working so far, so I wouldn't change too much.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I think we might leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Do we have the video from the day to pass for the viewers tonight, Timothée? Maybe. So I'll tell you in a minute, and I will do a recap of the results in a few seconds.
I might leave you guys there for the night. I've got another 1,500 kilometers to travel tomorrow. So I'm going to get an early night, and I hope to join you again tomorrow night.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us, Matthew. That was really nice from you, and we will see you. And then again tomorrow. Is that what you said, correct?
I hope to be back tomorrow, yes.
Oh, okay, amazing. Thanks a lot, and well, sleep well. Bye-bye, Matthew.
See you all tomorrow.
Mic on. Mic
So I'm
feedback
trying to
on.
arrange for you the... Oh, we have the interview with Benfest. Amazing. Hello, Ben. Are you available for a small interview with us?
Yeah. Fully ready.
Yes, you are. Amazing. I don't know if you have to activate the mic on Discord or not, but we'll do it like this. Just let this mic work on Discord, and maybe Timothée will tell me that you need to switch it off. We're still running some tests for the interviews. Congrats for the flight tonight. Second place again. So close to the Napier again. Probably tomorrow will be your day, and you will probably win. You must be looking for that, I guess, after two close finish. What are your thoughts tonight? Did you enjoy the race?
Yeah, it was an awesome task. Very good day, strong thermals, good wind, perfectly for me. So I took the decision to take the lead quite early, and yeah, I had it most of the time. As we approached Pic de Bure, I was slowing down a bit to see who's behind, and yeah, 269 again, Donna Pierre, and
Again and again, yeah. It's tough. I was expecting to see a little bit more Tim Madsen and Alpha Mike for the arrival, and still they have to make some progress for tomorrow to be in the top three. But I was quite surprised tonight to see the same podium as yesterday. Actually, it's not because of the gliders. We have all the polars of the gliders with the Condor team, and I can tell you that GS1, GS3, and Vantage 3 are really close, even at 48 kilogram per meter square. So that's definitely because you are really good pilots on Condor. So well done to you guys. Ben, tomorrow will be another race. Yeah, what's the aim? Do you have any objective for tomorrow?
yeah, I think I need to stop myself a little bit. You know, it's like
Pushing too
in-
much? Pushing
yeah,
too much, yeah.
it's too early in the race. Today I thought like, okay, maybe I have Jörgen in front who did an awesome job today. It was a really great
Yeah.
flight of him. So Hut up, as we say in Germany. Heads off. And yeah, even Echo Uniform Sierra, who did a very good job. I thought like, he's very high on the final thermal. Uh, did he manage to do the breakout? You know, like the undercut? But yeah, at the end he was a bit too low then, and I was yeah, still trying to get 269 or leave
Yeah.
Donna Pierre behind, and at the end it didn't work once again. So I try my
Well,
best to do it tomorrow and change the tactics maybe a little bit. But yeah, let's see. It's a fun race. I watched how Mario flew the real competition today. Was
amazing.
very nice, and I think we took almost the same thermal at Aspres-sur-Bouche.
Yeah,
Hope I
Asper
pronounced that
Bush,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, we took
Indeed.
almost the same thermal there, and that was a really great moment to catch the thermal there and then continue flying, pick the Bure Gap, and fly back towards the finish line and have this really awesome final glide.
Amazing. So that's great that you're saying that you followed both races. So you followed the real Sailplane Grand Prix to have some tips for tonight. That's amazing to hear. And yeah, we will see what will happen tomorrow. But the Matthew and Mark said indeed that Jochen has done an amazing flight today. He was probably definitely the pilot of the day. I don't know if we should add one more point for the guy who's taking the more risk or flying the best. Maybe we'll have to think about that in the future for the next rules. I don't know, but with that race today, it was absolutely amazing for the people to follow. The top 9 is finishing with more than 143 kilometers per hour. You are finishing at the second place with 144.4. So just nearly 1.5 kilometers per hour to finish with 8 points. Just imagine how tight it was at the arrival. It's amazing. Really, for us, it's amazing to follow. So thanks a lot, guys, for the show tonight. It was really nice. I think it's something that we will see a lot throughout the week. This kind of arrivals. Great. One last word to finish, Ben.
Yeah, thank you very much. I need to change my tactics now, go to bed, and we will see tomorrow.
Well, thanks a lot. Take some rest, and see you tomorrow for the next race. Thanks a lot, and congrats again.
Goodbye, thank you.
really great to see new people coming in and trying to comment virtual and real races. So if you're interested, maybe you can still send us a small mail or anything if you want to comment a race one day. That might be fun to do, and we're still recruiting every time. If you want to get involved in the projects, you can join us. Write a mail at esport.sgp.aero@gmail.com. And the video is coming now. Enjoy, and enjoy your evening, guys.
Welcome to Saint-Auban, Châteauneuf-Saint-Auban. We are at the final of the Grand Prix, and it's now the second race. Are you announcing that you are going out of the zero?
I have to. All these guys who didn't announce, they had to pay beers.
For the second day of racing in the Sailplane Grand Prix World Final in Saint-Auban, we had a 270-kilometer task. The weather was looking very good. The potential for some overdevelopment and little rain in the northern part of the area. And all the competitors made a good start. We had a good depart from Saint-Auban with a maximum altitude of 1,800 meters on the route to Lac Saint-Croix for the first turning point. It was a straight run to the first turning point, with most people choosing the same route except for Gintas, who chose to go to Mondenière, but this didn't work out too well for him. That direction, in the direction of the first turning point, was just cumulus, and after the first turning point there became a split in the field, which became very important in the race, with Mario Kiesling and Werner going off to the right and more eastern track, and everybody else going to the left to take the route back over Saint-Auban towards the Leur. Werner and Mario took the low route on the ridges, climbing here on Malop, and then running low down along the ridges, always to the east of track and always much lower. And they progressed very well until the point after Malop, when they needed to stop and climb. The rest of the pilots flew on the west side of Durance Valley, and they took a good climbs, although Philippe de Pesci and 1 or 2 fell short just after the crossing to Leur. At the turning point 2, Mario and Werner were well ahead. Their route had turned out to be very good, with a good climb in Le Pot, and they were well on their way to the third turning point. Werner took a different route to the third turning point, and he went behind the Pic du Bourg on the north side. It didn't work out too well. Consequently, he was quite low going into the third turning point. And Mario came in much higher at 2,300 meters. Werner then had to take the route down to the Series, where he really didn't get a good climb. Mario's altitude allowed him to take the route much more direct along the northern side of the route, past the Series, and back towards Le Pot. By now there was some rain and some showers, and it was getting quite difficult. Back at Le Pot, then Mario found a good climb, and he started to climb, and this was going to be the last climb needed for the task. He climbed up to 2,600 meters, and we can see that most of the following gliders caught him up. Maximilian caught him up, and Sebastian did a very good part of his flight when he probably pulled back 10 kilometers from the last turning point. The final glide was almost a formality, with Mario out front, Max behind him, always maintaining about 1.5 kilometers between them, no chance of catching. Mario came home first again. He's winning his second day after an excellent race which entertained us all.
Congratulations, again, a great race.
Thank you very much.
Could you decided to go east around the mountain. How was it to work with Werner?
So we decided at the first turn point to go to the ridge. It was not working that great, I have to say, but you could flow low altitude and all the time keep the speed. And then up to Aspre, where we had big trouble to catch the thermal. I felt that, and I had it already a bit in mind, that there was a bit of northerly wind inside in that valley coming from Pic de Bure, and so it was kind of lee and thermals, and took us some 3 or 4 minutes until we got it, and then 5 meters up, and then I was in the race again.
Whoa. That's a good job, Mario. Well done. Don't drink too much, or drink too much maybe.